Okay. I'm just waiting on Rich.
There's only one man battling the forces of evil. They are coming.
Now!
They will find you.
Now!
They will search for answers no one has dared to go. To save the world,
Hey, Rich. I see you.
there is only one.
Okay. I see Rich on there. There's Rich Prater. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Are you good and comfortable?
Oh, I'm as good and comfortable as I'm gonna be. I'm tired as hell, but other than that, I want to. Let me see. I want to change something here.
Well, your picture.
Yeah, I don't. I want to be live like you are. I got to figure out how the hell to do it. Bonnie stepped away for a second. I don't want to.
Well, what you do is you go. You click on, if you're in the StreamYard, you clicked on the camera.
Oh, yeah. I see it, Brian.
There you go. Hey,
what's up, buddy?
You got a tan.
Oh, shit.
We are definitely live right now, Rich. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. I feel a little bit more free to use vulgarity here than I do on my channel.
Yeah, my channel. Look, I know how to defeat that type of stuff, but they really can't put a strike on you if you say the wrong stuff. But I kind of know how to defeat it. But
I'm not gonna get real carried away. But I know I can speak a little bit more free here than I probably could on my channel.
Sure.
Because of the rating of it. Although I must admit I've slipped on it quite a few times, but never had any issues as a result. Okay, why is this not working?
Yeah, because it was buffering.
Ah, gotcha.
It did it to me too. I hope we don't have a bad connection, but if we do.
Well, the weather's good here today, and my stuff doesn't work at all hardly. A gust of wind, a drop of rain, anything, it'll knock me right out.
That's good old Texas for you.
Yeah, well, living out in the middle of nowhere. But Brian, did you enjoy your trip to Texas? You recently had a trip here. I know you wanted to meet with me. It didn't transpire, but did you enjoy coming down?
Yeah, fortunately we lucked out and got a pretty good deal on the ride. But we had to get down there to Houston to straighten up some things in my dad's house so he could get out. And we got get out of the hospital. He's been in the hospital for a year. And but on the way back, that's when I we were going up 30 anyway, so that's why I went ahead and stopped in Rowlett. I was on a time limit. There was so much I could have done there, but I was on a time limit.
Tell me, did you like the traffic conditions down here?
I didn't have any trouble with it. I think every time you go across that bridge on Lake Ray Hubbard to get back and forth to Doll Rock, it's a toll. Yeah. It's a toll. I didn't know that until I got back.
Well, then they had to change it. It wasn't that way before. I haven't been down there for a minute, so.
Well, it charged me $21, and that's where it said because the hotel was on the other side of that bridge, and everything I needed to go was just on the other side. So I went back and forth 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, because when you go over that bridge, that puts you in Rockwall.
Well, yeah, like I said, where we're at, there's East Dallas Quality in there, right off the side of the road. It was right off by the bridge.
Yeah, I'm not sure where that's at, but I know the area. I would love to get a pontoon and go out there on Lake Ray Hubbard. That's a nice lake, man.
Yeah, that's the first time that I've went through that. Last time we came through Dallas in front of that, and I didn't see how it was, but that's really nice driving across. It reminded me of Florida.
Oh yeah, it sounds like you might have went up 75 the other time.
Yeah, we were coming from a different way. And but I was really excited to be in Rowlett and get to see it because I spoke about the city so much. And I feel like I know that neighborhood really well. And now that I got to actually get out of the car, I went in the daytime and walked. And I went at nighttime and walked. I'm telling you, it's pretty eerie at nighttime. If you've never, I mean, I was right up on that fence. And I'm putting myself, when I was walking through there, I was thinking, okay, if I was an intruder, that's what I was thinking. And I know one thing that I didn't notice before is how freaking dark it is back there. There's no lights unless you get a motion light that comes on, which I didn't get those until I got past her house. But right there in that little area, before you come to that first garage, it is so dark you can't even see your hand in front of your face.
Yeah, it is dark. And I do believe that it was dark back there in 96 as well. It's an assumption, but I'm assuming that.
Yeah, you have to consider we're both in the same months, same June and July, kind of same area. So
yeah.
Have you ever got out and walked around over there? I know you drove through.
Oh yeah. I was careful about it. Because when I did 2 separate films over there, and when I went over there, I noticed I had gone around the alleyway and around the house, the circle there, and a few times, and I was going real slow, and I was recording like the manhole, recording the house. I mean, you got a phone sticking up in the air, ready to,
Mine looks like a camcorder, so I'm lucky. Go ahead.
Well, I know, but there was somebody did look out at the routine.
Yeah.
Of course, I think the Lambs may have lived there then, but and I remember saying on the film, I said, Bonnie, we better get out of here. Somebody's going to call the police on it. We're going to piss somebody off, And so, and then I went down there again, did another film, and then when I was in the area, I would just drive by because it seems like. You can go there one time. Yeah, it's interesting, cool to see everything, but you pick up on something new every time you go.
Right.
That you didn't know before. And one thing that I noticed, and one of Darlie's good friends said, it's actually very easy to get in and out of that development. And I'm like, oh, I don't think so. 'Cause remember, I used to say it was hard to get out of there. And,
it can be easy, yeah, because I saw it myself, the gap between Gorsuch's house.
Yeah, there's a gap there, and then there's a gap by Karen Neal's old house. And then right where the manhole is, there's a gap there in between the houses.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that it would be easy to get in and out of there, like you say.
But I still think you'd have to know how to navigate that neighborhood, though, Brian. I mean, you're not going to. If you're going to commit a crime to such atrocity, you're not going to not know your exits.
Well, if they come right off of Doll Rock and went into that back alley behind Karen Neal, there's that big parking lot there. But I don't think that would be a good place to keep a car because it'd be the only car in that parking lot. But you could park down the street from there and walk right into it. But it seems like somebody that was trying to get in that way or out that way, they'd had to have a target in hand.
Well, if you look at the back of the development, like if you go down that road in the alley where that parking lot is, like you said, you keep going back, you're going to do like a 90-degree turn. And the damn interstate, there's a field there, and the damn interstate's right on the other side of the field. I mean, it's nothing but clear land there. There's nothing. And the interstate's right there. And I want to say, can't remember. I think it's either 30 or 66. I can't recall. I think it's 30. Yeah, I think it's 30, Interstate 30.
I think Doll Rock is part of 66, isn't it? I don't know.
No, Doll Rock's not part of 66, but it does come up to a 4-way with it. And if you continue down Doll Rock southbound, only a few miles, you end up in Garland.
Did you hear about the S curve on Doll Rock where this person said that this Reggie Salzer, I believe, said that there was an S curve and that he saw someone walking at that.
Yeah, I have that affidavit. That's not it wasn't that person. What was her name?
Potter,
Darlene Potter. That's right.
But there's another one. And I was looking at it yesterday, and I can't find it. But I was looking at the S curves around there and the walking distance, and there's 2 of them. There's one that would take you 12 minutes to get to, another would take you more than an hour to get to. But I just wondered if you knew about that.
I did know about that, and I've actually checked out those. It's kind of confusing. if you didn't notice when you were there, because if you don't know the exact location they're talking about, you get kind of mixed up on the location that they're actually meaning, I think. And I had to go through it a few times to really catch on to exactly what, like Darlene Potter was saying. But I think what she has to say is very interesting. If you now, do I think it's relevant? None of us really know. I wish we did.
Yeah, we don't know. Because I think we had a separate event going on at Mary Rickles' house and those two guys. I think that was a separate event. And I think Darlene Potter may have seen the two guys.
Well, yeah, that's a whole different subject. It's possible. I'm not going to doubt that, but I don't. What I'm saying is, if what Darlene Potter says is correct, and we really have no reason to say that she was lying, she just make up something like that. But she claimed these men were in bare feet. Now, Brian, you're from Texas. Now, you know damn well walking around down here in bare feet is not very wise. You have scorpions, snakes, fire ants.
Well, just the heat alone. And it was a hot night that night, too, just the heat alone. I was down, and when I lived in Houston, it got up to 115 degrees one time. And you could literally spit on the sidewalk and watch it steam. You
cook eggs.
Yeah, people's car tires, when they're pulling off their driveway, it would just peel. It was been that hot. And it was incredibly sticky and hot and muggy down there when we were down there. Oh, my God.
It really wasn't that hot when you were here, Brian. It was muggy.
Oh, but it was just the humidity. My body's not ready.
What it's like now.
Yeah, my body wasn't ready for it, and it just dragged me out, made me tired. It's just like when I lived in Colorado. When you live in Colorado Springs, if you're not ready for that altitude, it will make you feel ill. You have to have water. But I didn't miss the stickiness and heat in Texas. I didn't miss that.
I bet.
So when I wanted to go, I went to the Rowlett Police Department. I had already set it up with them to speak to Patterson, and I can only ask him one question. I couldn't go into the case, and I could get one picture. And I was supposed to do that on Tuesday between 12 to 5. I was already halfway back by then. So I swung in there on a Monday, and he wasn't on duty. And I don't even know if they were going to be able to do it then. But the question I was going to ask him is, where did you put the cuffs on her at? And I just wanted a handshake from him. That would be for the non-support side. I know you guys don't like Jimmy Patterson too much because of the case and everything. But to me, he's just a down-home. He is a good old boy country cop, though. I will give you that. But I was hoping to get that. I was hoping to get that, at least that picture, for our side. It wouldn't mean much to you guys.
No, probably wouldn't.
No, just enough to. Well, just enough to make you guys mad. I'm not trying to make anybody mad.
Don't make me mad. I mean, the situation surrounding some of that does.
Yeah, and I know that things are a little bit different now. If we want to bring up Sully, we can. If you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. I know some behind the scene things is that we're seeing a personality that I saw when I first saw her in chat. Now you guys are seeing that personality now, where she claimed to be an expert in a capital murder case, and that's how I met her. She was in your chat doing that, and I said, "Well, what's that? What case is that?" Because I was generally interested. I wasn't trying to pick at her, and then when she started to skirt around it, and then she just started becoming rude, and instead of answering my questions, she would just be rude to me. So, did you ever hear her talk about being an expert in a?
No, she never talked to me about it, but I never asked either. I do know a little bit of some of her history that she has told me, some good, some bad. But I guess we just, and as far as my comment section, like Tara said, and this is part of the reason why I shut the comments down. It was requested by one of the people on the panel. But another reason is because of the tremendous hours I work. When I am home, I'm tired, Brian. Like I'm real tired today. So in light of that, oh man, I'm getting too old for it, Brian. It's killing me. But I don't have enough time to monitor it and respond accordingly. And Tara's like, they're cutting me to pieces on there. You didn't even respond to any of it or try to stick up for me. I said, Tara, I didn't even know about it because I don't have the time to monitor it.
Well, consider this.
So this is why on my channel, I feel as though it's better to keep the comments off and then to compensate for that, to do a live question and answer every once in a while where people could come in live, ask the questions or make the statements that they want, as long as they're respectful. We have no problem with them disagreeing with us.
That's a good idea.
But I think that's better than nothing, because I think people have the right to respond and ask questions. I figure we can make a claim of Darlie's innocence all day long, but what good is it if we don't allow people to question our findings and beliefs?
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I would always say about supporters, because, Rich, it's been typical over the years to block or to not allow non-supporters to comment. It's just typical. It happened before you came around. And at one of my points is, if you can't convince us, then you're not going to be able to convince the courts. So, and I've got this reputation as, a bad person, redneck, hillbilly, whatever, not very smart, not educated. If you can't convince me, how are you going to convince Texas? So it should be practice for you guys. It should be practice. The more you debate the case, the better you learn it.
I think what the issue is there, Brian, and the same can be said about the support side, plain and simple. But I think what the issue is oftentimes, whether you're on the support or you're on the non-support side, and if people are on the opposite side of what you are, and you're the one that's doing the speaking or the commenting, they're going to get very upset because of the passion that they have in a case, and they tend to start name calling and whatnot. I don't like that stuff. Okay, because believe me, I can get just as nasty as you can, Brian. I promise you I can. Yeah, but I don't do that. And I know Darlie wouldn't want us to do that. She don't want us to be fighting like this. And I really wish that, and Brian, I mean, we've done this before. It's been a long time. But we've done this
5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost 6. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, we did it for 6 hours, and it was pretty good. I thought we were very reasonable to one another, and everything went really well.
I know to practice restraint. I know you might catch some gruff for coming over here. I also know that you don't want to hear certain things that I've got to say, so I try not to say them. I know that you care about that family a lot and that they respect you as a family member, so I'm not going to be doing any of that while you're on panel. But but if you're not on panel, I don't, that's my channel. But I'm not going to.
That's right. It's your channel. Not mine.
If you were sitting here dogging non-supporters and saying bad, I wouldn't tolerate it. But
no, I wouldn't do that. I believe that they have the right to their opinion.
Right. And I think that if people are upset with you because you choose to correspond with me about this case, my thing would be, it shouldn't make a difference who you talk to, because your passion always lies with Darlie and her innocence. Even when you're talking to me, you don't waver. Every once in a while you say, oh, well, you got a good point, but you don't waver from that. So you're there for Darlie and her family. So if these people say, oh, we can't support him because he talks to that guy, that's their own pettiness. That's being petty to me.
Well, I think it's important to do what we're doing, to be honest with you. Because people need to see both sides, because the documentaries that are available on this case, most of them are extremely bogus and they have incorrect information on them.
A lot of them.
And you'll see that with a lot of cases, not even Darlie's case, but on many of the cases. It's crazy.
I've seen how the media treated it when my family was in the spotlight. They kept saying things that never happened, and so when Mama Key messaged me, that's one of the things she told me. She said, do not talk to the media. They came right to my house and beat on the door and they said, you want to have a statement? I said, sure I do. And I sat down and I gave them my honest statement, and they aired that one correctly. But the media, I know the media gets it wrong. In the beginning, the media was good for Darlie. A lot of people were just wanting to know who this intruder was.
I'm not sure about that, but
few days, not very long. But right away,
after the police start talking to them,
it happened pretty quickly. And one of the things that supporters claim is that when James Cron walked in there, he did a 20-minute walkthrough and immediately said it was Darlie.
Well, no, that's not what he said. He
Right.
said that after a 20-minute walkthrough, he felt as though that it was somebody in the house that had committed it. But here's
Right.
the issue that I have, because initially, even Darlie will say it, initially they were kind of putting blame on Darren, but then that switched up because Darlie said that wasn't my husband that did it because I saw this guy and I only got a quick glimpse of him, but I know it wasn't my husband.
That is his consistent story.
But here's the key, Brian. Here's the key to that. Now, you know that James Cron has a history all the way back to Lee Oswald, the alleged killer of President Kennedy. Okay. So a lot of years with the police department. As a fingerprint guy, he was on many, many, many crime scenes over the years, so on and so forth. So he's seen a lot. I'll give him that. He has seen a lot. Here's what gets me, Brian. How can you do a 20-minute walkthrough on a murder scene, double homicide and attempted homicide? And it doesn't matter what it looks like. You haven't even tested none of the evidence. No fingerprints, no blood samples, no forensics, no nothing. And you're going to come up with an answer like that. I think that's a little bit of overconfidence in oneself when it comes down to two children that just got murdered, including an attempted homicide of Darlie.
If I could, his instinct was there as a law enforcement officer for 40 years with all the forensics that he had been exposed to. You have to have an initial, like when you go into anything. Like let's say you start watching a movie, within 5 or 10 minutes whether you're going to like it or not. So that was his intuition. He looked around, he saw the table flipped over. He didn't see a whole lot of damage for it to be an intruder for him. He said, what this scene indicates to me is that there was no intruder. This was an inside job, but he did not blame it on Darlie. And
no, not initially.
To this day, there's still issue whether or not there was an intruder actually in that house. It's hard for you guys to prove. Let's put it that way. So there's still an issue. It's hard for you guys right now. If you could prove it, she wouldn't be in there. So it's hard.
I understand. I know what you're saying, but go ahead. I'm listening.
I think that he walked in the scene. He did get briefed by the police that were there. He didn't get there till like 6:30, I believe. He did get briefed, so he got an idea of what she was saying, what happened. We found the slit screen. The murder weapon was left in the house. Things like that indicate to him, well, this probably isn't. He wasn't like, God damn it, there was an intruder. He was like, this indicates to me that there was no intruder. But I think that his intuition was good because we still have that issue today.
Yeah, but I'm just surprised that he would say that, Brian, when we have a cut screen from the outside. And let's not forget, they initially said it was cut from the inside, but when they got to go under oath and stuff, they changed their mind. They got cut on the outside. But what I'm going to say is Mr. Cron didn't even, and I know the man's deceased now, but
it's all right, part of the case.
He hadn't talked to Darlie. He hadn't talked to any witnesses.
Mm-hmm.
By the time he came up with that idea as to somebody in the house doing it. So you got a cut screen. I think right from the rip, that's giving us the indication that somebody could have come in that house.
Well,
there's none of the evidence at that point had been tested. That's the point I'm trying to make.
One of the things he saw on that screen when he did step out into the garage is that the screen was facing inward. Had somebody just went out, the screen flap should have been outward. That's what he
not thought. Necessarily. Mr. St. John, you're from Texas. It's windy down here. This is a Great Plains. The wind's always blowing down here.
Well, we knew it was a hot, sticky night, and they weren't having a whole lot of that. But to him, it just looked like, since it was coming inward, that it looked like no one went out. And he was just guessing. A lot of times you guesstimate. You have to.
Okay, but if Darlie was partly, what's the word I want to indicted as a result of that screen cutting ordeal.
Well, you mean the hair, the.
Well, yeah, right. Well, the hair that wasn't even hers. I mean, you're going to make a guess like that. That's a really.
Well, I mean, it's what a lot of forensics and police work is guesstimation. You start with a guess, then you follow that guess, and then 29 years later,
Well, I agree with you, Brian. I totally agree with you, and I think that's exactly what the problem is here. Is it's most of this case is speculation, sadly, for both sides, because I don't believe that everything is properly tested, and I don't think there were some areas that they tested that I don't even think needed to be tested, and then there were areas that should have been tested that were not.
Yeah. Well,
that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
And it's a good opinion because I know that in any crime scene, if you listen to Derek Levasseur from Crime Weekly, where Danelle made an appearance, they did a 5-series part on a 6 series, I think. And what he said is that there's always going to be contamination. There's always, it's not a perfect science. And this came from a private, a detective, one of the youngest in the country.
And I'm not going to disagree with that. What I'm going to disagree with the fact of investigators putting 2 different bloodied wet items into the same bag. I mean, that's clearly cross-contamination, whether it was evidence or not. They were collecting it and doing it that way.
I agree.
How the hell are you supposed to test that for? And I'm not talking to you like this, Brian. I want to make that clear.
However you want, Rich. I'm not going to bite.
No. I'm not going to talk disrespectful to you. I'm talking disrespectful about that. You got 2 dead children, okay, brutally murdered, and you're putting 2 different pieces of evidence that are wet with blood in bags. There's pictures of it. You could see the blood sticking to the plastic bags they were putting it in.
Yeah,
even Doug Mulder said that that's cross-contamination. That shouldn't even be looked at.
Yeah, we can't justify why they did it that way.
It's
not proper, but I don't think that anything that went in those bags that it swung guilt or innocence. I really don't. But they shouldn't have done it. There's even
they didn't have a smoking gun as to who killed those little boys.
There's even a video of James Cron coming out of the house with an Albertson bag, and he sets it down on the ground, and then he puts it in the car. That's not hurting anything, but it just doesn't look right. You know what I mean? Why is it you let that cut touch the ground?
That's because I think this is my opinion. I just think that they had their minds made up at that point that there was no intruder, and that either Darren or Darlie, and they eventually went over to Darlie, obviously, and did that. Brian, the thing that I think that really gets me more than anything is how come Darlie's interrogations weren't recorded? There wasn't no stenographer. There wasn't video recording. There wasn't even a tape recording. Well, they claim that. They claim it. And let me tell you, because I believe they did record it. Why wouldn't they?
You talking about Bill Parker?
Yeah, I'm talking about Bill Parker, that weirdo.
I don't believe him.
I don't believe him either.
Never have.
And Darlie swears up and down she never said, if I did it, I just don't remember.
And she was quick. She was really quick about it when she was asked that question. She goes, "That's a lie. I did not say it." She was all right. So I don't believe for 1 minute that Darlie told Bill Parker, "If I did it, I don't remember." And not because I think she's innocent, because I know that she would not say that.
You'd have to be a 5-star asshole to say something like that, even if you did do it.
Right. Well, she wouldn't say it. She would not give them anything that they could use against her. In my opinion,
without a question, because if they did, they'd have used it.
Right. And then Bill Parker is supposed to be one of the top interrogators around Texas, Oklahoma area, all around that area. And he didn't have his own recorder. So no, I don't buy it. And he looks.
I believe they did record it. They just said that they didn't because they had nothing on it that was useful.
Well, if they did record it, they didn't have anything on it that was useful. They still would have presented it to us, just like they presented us the results of the hair dye test, the hair. They said, "Okay, we messed up. This belongs to an officer." Why would they do that if they were trying to hide someone? If they wanted to plant any hair in there, they could have just took one out of her brush. And that's it. Case closed.
I agree with you, but she got indicted in part because of that. I mean, that's significant. I mean, explain that to Darlie and Darlie's family.
Well, I'm saying if they
do,
right. I'm saying if they wanted to get her indicted and be sure that she was going to get indicted, they could have took a hair out of her brush, stuck it in the screen, and said, "We found this," and never had it tested.
Okay, but it goes to show how they based their investigation off of speculation and not proof of what transpired. I'm not saying that the Rowlett Police Department would have done something like that. What I'm saying is they automatically, once they, Darlie said, "Listen, I know my husband didn't do this. I seen this man, it was somebody else." Now they're going to say Darlie did it. This is before stuff is tested.
Well, Rich, because even though people have claimed I know you don't want to touch on a private investigation. You're not the one that says it.
I don't. Yeah, that's the situation's all under control now, and I kind of like to keep it that way.
But good. But the thing is, as a self-taught investigator, which you are, you talk to me about other cases sometimes, and you do very well. You know that you have to start with speculation. I think this. I think that.
You should start on instinct.
Or speculation. The same,
same
kind of cousins.
I agree.
You have to start out with instinct or speculation, and those two words are kind of the same.
Well,
my speculation tells me this.
You can start on that speculation, and that's fine and well, but you got to also make sure that your speculation is correct by the proper testing.
Right.
Now listen, Brian, look, we both know that they did a massive amount of DNA testing, over 100 samples, which at that time was record setting.
Yeah.
Okay. So they did do that. But how come they didn't test the blood that was in the garage? I'm not talking about on the floor. I'm talking about on the side. Cron said, we just don't need that.
I would have to do my research on that particular thing. I know.
And you know why that's significant, Brian? Because Darlie said she never went into the garage. She said she was in pretty much the doorway of the kitchen and the utility room, and she seen the knife, picked up the knife, and turned around and went back. She never stated she went in the garage. So I would love to know what that blood was that was on the sign in there that Cron said that wasn't needed.
I don't want to etch this in stone, but I do believe that there was some speaking of a mosquito somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly about that blood on the sign, but I know Cron said he didn't see it when he went in there. Maybe they were thinking that somebody got some blood on him and walked past it, but no, that's one of those things that doesn't make sense. It's just like a sock. It doesn't make sense either side, really, except the sock should have Darlie's blood on it if an intruder had used that sock. There's no way you guys can get around that. It should, but it don't.
Well, there's a lot of things that either side can get around with on that sock.
So I'm going to make a point to write it down and do some more studying on that blood that was on the sign so I can have a definitive answer. I wouldn't even think about it.
That, to me, that's extremely significant. It's one thing if they had an eyewitness that Darlie did it, or if they had other compelling information that showed that Darlie was guilty, then okay, there's you just need the smoking gun.
If you're gonna put somebody to death, if you're gonna put somebody to death, you need to know what that blood on that sign will come back to.
I totally agree.
I believe they do. It's just something that I haven't discussed for a long time. It's one of those things that was like a gotcha for me because I haven't studied up on it.
Well, but you know what though, Brian, as well as I with this case. I've already done 71 episodes, and I can still do a lot more. So it's
you learn something every day. That's why I say it.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff, and for anybody to think that they know the case in under 2 years, don't know the case.
That sock
it really takes that long.
This Jamie says that sock had a knife print on it. Is that the Jamie we know, or is that a different Jamie?
I don't know.
No,
actually, I'm not. I don't ever recall seeing a knife print on that sock, unless you know something I don't, Mr. St.John.
Me neither. They're handling that in the chat. I don't look too much at the chat because the chat's able they could throw you off from your discussion. But I do go through.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's the Jamie that we know from your podcast.
I don't. I really don't know. I really don't know.
Well, there was no knife print on that sock. Now, the thing with the sock is on our end, she seemed very preoccupied with that sock and the prints, and she seemed kind of preoccupied with it. She mentioned it in the 911 call. She mentioned it at the hospital. She told a nurse that she knocked the knife out of his hand.
Well, wait a minute. I don't. When did Darlie talk about the sock in the 911 call?
The knife.
Is that what you said? I'm sorry.
I said she talked about the knife. She said she knocked the knife.
Oh yeah, the knife she did. Yeah.
She was preoccupied with the fingerprints. She was worried about if there were fingerprints on that knife.
She was asked the question though, Brian, and she was talking to Officer Waddell and the 911 operator at the same time at that moment.
After she said he dropped his knife on the floor, Doris Trammell asked her, there's a knife, don't touch anything. Darlie mentioned it first.
Well, she said she had already picked it up.
Right. She mentioned the knife first. A lot of people are saying that, the 911 dispatcher mentioned it first, but the correct is Darlie did say that first. She said he dropped his knife. She said, don't touch anything. So as far as bringing it up, in that,
okay, fair enough. That's true. Fair enough. Yeah.
And another thing that you and I have been battling each other about is this thing of passing out on the porch, where your eyes were real big and your eyebrows went up. And you said Darlie told me she passed out on that porch. That's why there's blood there. You're kind of excited about it.
Well, you remember how when you said Darlie answered what Bill Parker's statement was really fast? She answered that real fast when I asked her about it. Brian, damn it, I know I have that. I just have to find it. I'm going to look through.
I'd like to see that.
I want to send it to you. I want to look through my old phones because I know I have it. I just got to find it. And there is literally a pool of blood that's just outside the front door.
I've never.
And I was looking at that and I'm like, where the hell did that come from? They just don't get there by themselves. And me and Bonnie went down on a visit, and I said, Darlie, I noticed on one of the crime scene photos there was a pool of blood on the right outside your front door. She said, oh yeah, that's where I passed out. That's what she said.
Okay, Jamie says I have a pic of it. If you have a picture of it and you're able to send that to Rich, send it to Rich, because I haven't seen anything or heard anything in testimony, and I know that I sent you some of what Brian Koschak had said. And he was talking about he walked her out there. That's when he did the shock test. She was normal. So if somebody had just passed out to the point where there's blood, if he was the tester after that, they wouldn't have normal vital signs. None of the.
Is it possible that's why they did do the shock test, because of the fact that she passed out or got woozy?
Well, why wouldn't they say?
I don't know.
We saw her get woozy. They said that he felt like it was best for her to get out of the house. So he walked her out. And while he was standing there at the porch, that's when he did the test. He didn't say anything. I felt like I needed to do the test because she just passed out. So either somebody's not remembering correctly what happened, or flat out lying, or I would, because I've never seen or heard of any test on the blood on the porch at all. Never.
Well, I'm sure that would have been an area that I think would have been an area for testing, and you're right, because I don't think they did any testing there. But however, I know the picture exists. One way or the other, I'm going to find. I just did a Google search on it and everything, and I couldn't find it. I think I got it on one of my old phones, which I haven't had the chance to check, but I'm going to do it. And if I find it, Brian, I'm going to send it to you.
Jamie in the chat is saying, she's seen it. So I think that's the Jamie that goes on your panel, which is fine.
I don't know if it is or isn't, Brian. I really don't know.
You can't. Can you see the profile picture on my screen? Can you see it?
I can, but I don't. If that's the Jamie that's a friend of mine, that picture looks like it's from the 80s.
That's all right. A lot of people do that.
Well,
But
I'm just saying that's not what I'm used to her looking like, and I also can't see it real close. Of course, I'm blind as a bat anyway. But Brian, if I knew for a fact it was her, I'd tell you. I don't know. I really don't. I would say it's possible. I mean,
okay,
this case, she's very passionate about this case, so I mean, it's quite possible she is here.
Yeah, good. Jack Francis says there are no pictures of blood outside the house. If there are pictures depicting that online, they are fake.
I didn't get it offline. I know better than to get things offline, Jack. But again, I want to produce the picture because when I can produce the picture, then I got more of an argument on my side. So I really need to produce that picture. And Brian, I know I did a podcast on that and showed that picture. That's what irritates me because I know I have that somewhere. I just got to find it.
The question would be, why would she, let's say, on our end, why would she tell you that she fell out and passed out and hit herself to where she was bleeding when there's 5 different sets of testimony that say what occurred on that porch, and none of them say that she fell out? It's not a point that makes her a killer or not.
Well, how else would that blood have gotten there?
Well, she didn't pass out. That's the thing.
Well, okay, let's say she didn't pass out, and if Darlie's lying, how else could that pool of blood gotten there?
So I know that she was standing on the porch with Kroshak for a while, and she did have blood that was dripping all the way down her nightshirt at the time, because I know that it took a moment for them to get the stretcher and roll it up to her, and he was standing there checking her for shock and everything. So is it possible that she could have, it could have just came off of her gown? If it was
she'd been standing there for a good while when you see the size of the pool of the blood.
Right. But if it was a pool of blood, that would be the same as a, what do they call that? High velocity blood drop with no tail. It's high velocity, right? The one with the tail.
The problem with the picture, because I think some of their pictures that they took in 96, technology has changed so much on so many different levels since then, especially for this stuff. It's a grainy picture, but you can tell that it's not a towel. You can clearly tell that it's not a towel, because I remember you had mentioned that. I think it's a good thing to look at. But I gotta find this picture. It's all there is to it, so people can see it and come to their own conclusions as to what they think it is. Because I was very confused on it. I'm like, what is this blood doing there? And I went right to the horse's mouth about it, and she said it was from me, guy. It's where I passed out. She said she was there at the front door, on the outside of the front door, and next thing she remembers, they were helping her up off the ground and putting her on a gurney. She said that's all she can say about it, but she knows she passed out. That's what she said.
Well, we could look at it like this too. She wasn't in a state of shock at all, according to Kochak. She did not lose half of her blood. There was nothing there that there was nothing there that would make her pass out. You know what I mean? Because her blood pressure was pretty normal at the time, actually.
140 over 90, if I recall.
That's a little high on the low end.
It's a little high, but for what was going on, it didn't surprise me.
So I want to find out more about that blood and the passing out on the porch, because Rich, if I could show you personally that she told you a lie, where would you go with that? That's
well, if Darlie had lied to me about it, I would say it. Well, I've got proof that she lied to me. I just don't have any proof that she's lied to me about anything. If I have it, I'm going to announce it.
I can say that Darlie's been very honest in some things, like when I was having the issue of my removal from support, it was said, that I was writing her flirty letters and stuff like that, and since she rejected me, that's why I left support. Like I said, I've had 3 different gentlemen ask her. I said, go ask her about it. I never did that. And
I asked her about it, and she said,
right,
no.
I had you and Richard Wright and Darren Gross. He said, no, you never wrote her anything like that. But she told somebody I only wrote her 1 letter, too. I don't know which one that was.
That wasn't.
No,
I don't. She didn't
we
say
were
how
writing
many
back
letters
and
were
forth a
written.
lot. Yeah, we were writing back and forth a lot. I would take the transcripts or some of the posts that was in the free Darlie and show her what was going on, and she didn't understand it, so I quit doing that.
Well, yeah. I mean, she's been incarcerated for almost 30 years. I mean, that was prior to the time of the internet boom. So it, like what we're doing here today, she don't have a lot of understanding of it. A little maybe, but she doesn't understand what this is all about. Like when the very first time I saw Darlie, and I go around the corner and I sit down and she's sitting right there, Darlie Routier is sitting right there, and and said, "How you doing today? It's nice to finally meet you." And I said, "Well, I'm okay, but I'm a little starstruck at the moment." She, starstruck? Why? It's just me. I said, "If you knew how big your name was, you would understand what I'm talking about."
I would probably feel the same way if I was to meet her because I know she's crime famous, but I don't know if I'd be giddy. I mean,
she
you're
doesn't
excited
choose to
for
be.
different reasons too.
Yeah, she doesn't choose to be crime famous. Believe me, she doesn't.
No, and she's not in tune with it. And I've seen stuff that because over the years, I've seen stuff that she's written. I've read her journals, and if you read her journal all the way up until May the 3rd, you would, if let's say that didn't exist, that was gone, you'd be like, "There's no way this woman could have done this. Look at her mind; it was sharp, and it was right where it needed to be as far as raising a family." Right. But something happened from April 29 to May 3rd within a few days. It totally changed, which falls back on, where I've met Basha, and Basha says, "Well, I saw things beginning to escalate, over the weeks, things getting more stressed. And so I removed myself from it," she said. There's evidence of that in Darlie's own journal.
I agree. I agree there were stressors going on. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think Darlie would dispute that, Brian, because I hate to speak for her, but I don't think she would dispute that. I mean, she made it clear to me there was issues going on there prior to the murders between her and Darren and different various things.
Well, absolutely. But she tells law enforcement that she had a wonderful marriage.
Well, and I'm not going to disagree with that. I know a lot of that was admitted to later, but I think the reason why they did that is because they didn't want that information coming out, because it was quite a bit of it was embarrassing to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
that's my opinion. They didn't tell me that. That's my opinion.
For me, if you're fighting for your life, I wouldn't be embarrassed about nothing. There's a lot of things
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree with that.
You and I discussed, like, this argument with Barry Fife, this argument with Glenn Mize. Non-supporters wonder why she didn't tell the police about that. If he's supposed to have threatened her, if Glenn Mize was supposed to have said something, why didn't she? Because one of the things they would ask Darren and Darlie, okay, do you have anybody that you've had any falling out with? And why didn't they tell them that? Why didn't they say that? That makes it seem not
first
true.
Of all, I don't know this 100% for sure. I want to make it clear. However, I will say this. I don't believe that Darlie mentioned Glenn Mize until the a little bit later down the road toward the time of the trial. And I say this because Darren's Aunt Sandy, really a nice lady, by the way. And I recommend, Brian, if you ever wanted to call her and talk with her, a very nice woman. But she's getting up in age, so I wouldn't waste any time if you want to do that. But
I would ask her who Phil Adams is and why she tried to hook Darlie up with her.
Well, I don't know about anything with that, but what I do know is this: Aunt Sandy was the one that had suggested to Darlie that maybe it was Glenn Mize that did it, and that's where that speculative ordeal transpired, and why Darlie started bringing that up, because her and Aunt Sandy were writing a lot of letters back and forth.
Sure, she liked to write Aunt Sandy. Aunt Sandy.
Oh yeah, I don't know that they're in touch anymore. I honestly couldn't tell you. I didn't ask. Nobody said anything, but
I was going to say she likes to write because she was held up in court for writing notes. And the judge noted that she would write notes and then she'd take it out in the hallway and tell everybody that was supposed to get on the stand next what it was said. If you look at Sherry Moses' testimony about the bruises on the arms, the judge directly asked her about, did you get prior knowledge of this? And that's right after he chewed Aunt Sandy out.
Sherry Moses, you talking about Darlie Key's sister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me look at.
I'm pretty sure that's who that is. Yeah.
Yeah. They look alike. She got.
They do look alike. They look a lot alike, actually. Yeah.
She got. But the judge, he opened her up in court about writing the notes, because the idea of, if you're a family member that's allowed in there, the same in the trial I went through, you can't write notes and then go out in the hallway and show everybody what's just been said. You can't do that.
Aunt Sandy, from what she claims, she was there from day one until the verdict and sentencing, in the courtroom every day. And that courtroom was very small. Even Barb Davis said, if you moved your feet, you lost your seat.
Yeah. This Barb Watson says defense 50 shows a pool of blood on the right side of the door in a gauze wrapper. They moved her to the porch to get her away from the scene in the family room. Okay, here's the thing. If there's a gauze wrapper there, that tells me why there's blood on the porch.
Mr. St. John, this pool of blood is huge. This is not, it's not, I mean, it's big. That couldn't have come from a gauze wrapper. I'm telling you now, when you see it, I just wrote this down that it's Defense Exhibit 50, and that might help me find it. You might even be able to find it with that information right now.
Yeah, that's a good thing about having these chats. People will see it later, and they'll sometimes put the answers in the comments. And the thing with the comment section, Rich, is you only put out a video like once a month, if that, maybe every couple of weeks. All you have to do to clear it out is just log on to your YouTube once a night, and you can remove anything you wanted to. I mean, it doesn't take a long time.
Sometimes I don't get home till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and then I got to get back up again at 5. And it's not all the time, but sometimes. I mean, yesterday, it's 100 degrees down here right now, and the humidity's very high. And I did a 14-hour day out on a job site with 1.5 lungs, emphysema, and prostate cancer, and 6 herniated discs. So it's like I said, it's not getting any easier for me.
Yeah, I could only imagine. That's like, when we were talking about meeting up, I figured that you're in the concrete business is booming right when it first gets hot. And I just figured you were busy that you didn't answer me.
Well, we go 12 months, 6 days a week, 12 months a year. We're busy even in the winter.
Jamie says, Rich, check out your text. I sent a picture of the knife on the sock. Still looking for puddle on the porch. Good.
I'm checking. I'm
good.
checking.
Even if you can't get these, if we can't find a way to show them today, you can have them for later. Because I want to discuss everything.
Well, I can even send. Well, I can send it to you, Brian.
Yeah.
So let me here. I'd really love to get this on the screen if you can do it, Brian. I think it's important for everyone.
I should.
Give me 1 second here.
I don't usually go live. I used to go live every two, three times a week when I was in drama. I haven't done it for a long time. Bathsheba's here too as well.
Okay.
Now Bathsheba comes over and comments on my stuff quite a bit.
Hey, Jamie, do me a favor. Send it to Bonnie, because for some reason I'm not getting it through here.
Send it to Bonnie, and Bonnie can put it on the screen.
Yeah. Send it to Bonnie. If you don't have Bonnie's number, tell me on here, and we'll figure something out, because I really want Brian to see this picture. I really want this picture for your audience to see, Brian. And,
sure.
I'm sure if Pamela Collins was here, because she's kind of like the master of the information on this case, I'm sure she has seen this photograph. I'd bet my life on it.
Yeah. I'd like to see it too, because I want to study it. I want to be sure that I want to try, the best I can to put out the facts. And even if a fact supports the support side, I'm not above putting it up there and saying, "Hey, we got to talk about this," to my group. So, my opinion is, they say you don't snap and just snap back, but that's exactly what happens to a lot of people. You snap, you have an episode, then you snap back.
Well, to a crime scene of this severity, and statistics will show this. Somebody who commits a crime to this horrible catastrophe, to this atrocity, chances are you don't come back from that on a psychological level because it's so severe. I mean, Brian, you've seen these autopsy photos. You've read the autopsy reports, and
it's horrible.
It's just indescribable.
It's horrible.
You don't come back from something like that. It's one thing. There's been a lot of cases where somebody didn't mean to kill somebody, but they did. That's a little bit different. This was pure rage that was going on.
Sure.
Now, Brian, I just got me a text, so give me a second.
Okay.
It could be it.
As far as the rage part of it goes, that's what the FBI profiler Brantley he had stated, that the difference between the attacks on the boys and Darlie was totally different. So in order for supporters to defeat that, is a lot of them claim that there were two intruders. And I even did a video the other day about how is it possible that two could get out and Darlie only see one. But, well, if she rose up and that other guy was down the hallway, he could have got out the front door. But then you have Gorsuch. So did you send that over? Or?
I'm working on it.
I'll see if I can get it. I don't know if I'll be able to put it
Yahtzee, I got it, Brian. And like I said, this picture's a bit grainy. It's coming at you right now, Brian.
Let me see.
Very good. And thank you, Jamie, for the information.
Yeah, Jamie.
Yeah, it's coming right at you, Brian. You're going to see some bloody towels. Either it could be a gauze pad or a regular towel, and then you're going to see a pool of blood that's a pretty significant size. You should be getting it any second, if not already.
Well, I haven't got it yet. You sent it to my phone, right? Oh, there
I did. Yeah.
Oh, I see.
How about that one, Brian?
There is a gauze wrapper on top of it. Let me see if I can find a way. I don't know how I can present it from here without showing a bunch of phone numbers. But I can describe what I can see. It's off to the right side of the door, just as you step out onto the porch. It looks like two pools of blood. But the thing that's concerning to me is there's an unopened package of gauze sitting right on top of it.
And if you could also see bloody towels.
I only see one picture, so.
Well, no, Jamie said that she actually has another one without the gauze pad being on the blood. So I asked her to send it to me so I can send that to you as well. Now, if you look at the picture that I've already sent you, if you look where the blood puddles are, and then I would say that'd be about 2 foot away from that, you're going to see a bloody towel. I don't know if that's one or two bloody towels, but you can clearly see it. It's very obvious.
Well, they had to take the towel off of Darlie's neck and throw it down to they wanted
well, there was but in the house, there was the wet, bloody wash rag in there.
Well, we don't know if she had more than one or not on her neck, actually.
Well, we don't.
If one of them got soaked, if one of them got soaked, my natural instinct would be to grab another one. So we don't know if it was the same towel. Darlie did say that when she tried to get the one towel out, then a whole bunch of them fell. Now my next video is going to be about that picture because I don't think I'll be able to present it without kicking myself offline because it's in my phone. But there was somebody said, I think it was Jack Francis, who said that those pictures that you find online of that are fake. But it doesn't look fake to me.
No, I don't think they're fake, Mr. Francis.
Uh,
When I asked Darlie about it, she knew automatically what I was talking about.
that's a lot of blood. I mean,
It really is. But you know, Brian, and if it's a defense exhibit, now if you know on a lot of the photographs, whether they were for the state or they were for the defense, they're labeled.
This
You
is
know,
not labeled. This
it's
one's not
not labeled. So
Uh-uh.
I'm not sure. And somebody said that it was a defense exhibit number 50. So that's very interesting. We got to find that out, because if it is a legitimate exhibit for the trial, you can bet that it's authentic.
That's a lot of blood. But Darlie, now if Darlie said she passed out there, or did she pass out on that gauze pad or not? You know, I mean, because the gauze pad is there, Rick.
She didn't say anything about a gauze pad or a towel. I said, I seen a crime scene photo with a pool of blood in front of your front door. I said, where did that pool of blood come from? She said, it come from me. She said, I was standing out there and I passed out, and all I did was remember them picking me up and put me on the gurney right there, which that does match testimony to the effect that they did put her on a gurney up there.
All right, well, let's look at it like this. Is it possible that she thought she passed out, and that when they were putting her on the gurney, that's what she felt?
Maybe.
Really,
but
like
I mean,
said, all the other people that came around her, even Darren, when he talked to her on that stretcher, he didn't say anything about her passing out. He was asking her about her panties. He didn't ask her. Well, people say, and another thing, we get on the topic of the missing panties. How do we know that there are missing panties?
I don't.
I know my wife's got a real nice Victoria's Secret T-shirt that goes all the way down to her feet. And the point of women wearing that is so they don't have to wear anything under it.
Well, I've heard different things over the years, Brian. I've heard that she wasn't even wearing panties, and then I heard that she was. And I took it to Darlie, and she said, no, I was wearing panties. I had to that was one of the corrections I've made on my podcast over the years, because Darlie said that she was wearing panties, and then obviously then she wasn't. And so the problem that you have is Darlie has a hard time recollecting some of this because of the trauma that had transpired. And I honestly don't know whether or not she was or wasn't. Now, if I know Darlie as well as I feel I do, I would think now that she probably was wearing them because her little boys were downstairs with her. I don't think that Darlie would have been inappropriate in that way in front of her boys in any way. I really don't believe that.
Well, I don't think they could see, like they couldn't see.
Well, regardless, I mean, if she's sitting on the couch, I mean,
you can see.
You know how little kids are. They're jumping all around and jumping all over you and everything. I just don't see Darlie not wearing them. Is the point that I'm making.
I understand, and I don't want to get into. Well, I understand what you're saying, but I know that I don't think that she was a mother that sucked. She was your typical mother. With some a little bit more than the others. There was nothing abnormal about her parenting before these murders to me. Not very much. Nothing that I could say she's a killer because she did that.
And that's a very important point you make, because typically people that cause murders like this, there's usually things that lead up to it. Now, mind you, I'm going to say that Darlie did have some stressors going on. We can prove that. Darlie, I believe, would admit that too. And I mean, she had been sleeping downstairs on the couch about a week because her and Darren weren't getting along very well.
Well, is it because they weren't getting along, or was it because that the baby made so much noise and rooted in its crib? It's one or the other.
Well, we didn't discuss that. I just said, is it true that you were downstairs for a week on the couch because you and Darren were having problems? And she pretty much shook her head yes. And I asked her, and you got to remember, I got Darlie's permission to share these stories. There are some stories she had told me not to say, and I will not say. But I will say that she told me I could share these stories because I told her, I said, Darlie, if you tell me something, I'm going to share it unless you tell me not to,
Let me
because
stop you before I lose my train of let me get you before I use my train of thought. You're talking
Okay.
about that she told you that she was downstairs because her and Darren were having problems, but she told the public that her marriage was wonderful. Yeah, I mean, okay, the reason that people lie, because that's a lie. If she told you one thing and telling the public something else, the reason that people lie is to deflect from the truth. So why would she say it in public? And I've seen this. I don't want to go into a long thing, but I've seen this with other family members. They say one thing in public and something different behind the scenes. So why would you think she would do that?
Well, it's I mean, you're making a valid point, but I think it's very in my opinion, because I didn't ask her that. I didn't say, Darlie, why didn't you say that? I didn't ask her that. But Darlie gets embarrassed very easily. I know this. I experienced this. I've seen it with my own eyes over different various things that we've discussed. I told you that, Brian, when we talked on the phone prior to this.
She does seem very naive. Yeah.
Well, she gets embarrassed very easily. I just, with some of the stuff that Darren was doing, their monetary situation with their business, the recent arguments that they were getting in, and just a lot of the different things that were going on, I just personally believe she didn't want it exposed. Right. I don't think she really cares about that much anymore. But
she shouldn't have. Just like Basha was giving her stuff about the sex toys, and you were saying that she might be a little embarrassed about that. But for me,
definitely,
if it was my life is on the line. The life of my kids, I wouldn't care about them sex toys.
I wouldn't either.
But I'm a man too, though. So,
yeah.
But they say she might have been a little embarrassed about the sex toys, but there's also reports of her dressing in a certain way that, being revealing. But I've never seen a picture of her. But there are people like in the bikini outside. I've never seen a picture of her showing herself like that. But you had said
I talked to her about that, Brian, because somebody had made a claim, and I think Tara DeCourtney actually put it in one of her documentaries, that it was said that Darlie was outside cutting the grass in a thong. And I told Darlie Lynn about that, and Bonnie, as my witness, she was laughing so hard the tears were running down her face. She said, "Where do these stories come from?"
Yeah.
She said, "Yes, I own thongs. I didn't wear them outside. I didn't go anywhere with them." She goes, "That is absolutely ridiculous." And she goes, I just don't understand where people come up with this.
If you're mowing grass with a thong on, it's going to throw the grass all over your legs. It's not safe. You know what I'm saying?
And I don't, and again, I don't think Tara was trying to say that that's what she was doing. I think Tara was just mentioning what had been said.
Yeah.
And, oh my God, because what Tara would do when she would do the documentaries is she would send me all the transcripts of it, and I would send them to Darlie Lynn so she could read them. And so she knew what was actually coming out on the documentary. And when I've never seen anybody laugh so hard. It was good to see her laugh that hard, though. I bet it's kind of hard for her to do that in there in most cases.
James Wood asked, why did the police not check the routiers' phones or computers? They did.
They did. What makes you think they didn't do that, Mr. Wood?
They did. Now, the computer, I do remember Darren saying that Devin had to teach him Windows 95, but I didn't see any computer in the house anywhere, unless he's talking about the one at work. So,
well, they went there. They went to Darren's place of work and checked that stuff out.
Yeah, the police did. They did follow up on. She said she was getting hang-up calls. They did follow up on that. But back to where they say that the police didn't investigate. Let's say Darlie said, Barry Fife stole this Jaguar. Him and my husband did this, and I told him off about it, and he looked at me and said, "You don't know what I can do." don't you think that if they would have told him that, the police could have got all over him? They could have been all over him, but they weren't. They weren't.
I'm not gonna disagree with that. I don't understand why a lot of stuff wasn't said, but I think they were afraid of Darren getting in trouble for some of the crap and harebrained schemes that he was doing. We're talking about insurance scams. I mean, we already know he did one successfully with a Jaguar. I mean, that's fraud. That's a felony.
It is. And it's also deceitful when Darlie says, "Well, I found out about things I didn't know about back then." We know you. How does your husband not come home without a car?
Well,
are you going to ask, "Where's your car?" Or "Where'd you get this new one from?" Where'd you get? Darlie wore the pants in that family, and that's a fact. So I'm pretty sure she knew exactly. She had control over there.
Mr. St.John, if she had full control over there, they wouldn't have been having the problems they were having.
Well, that's a good point. But I think that she was very influential to the things that Darren would do. You know, I don't believe that she didn't know anything about if Darren was doing a lot of coke or not. You know, she would know, even if she wasn't participating in that or not.
She did.
She did. And again, we have conflicting stories. You know, I asked Basha if Darlie had ever done coke. I said, this way I asked it. I said, has Darlie ever done cocaine? I said, because she told somebody out here she never touched the stuff. And Basha laughed and she said, she's such a liar. And she told me two times in 10 years, though, is not very much.
Well, I mean, whether she did or didn't, I mean, she said she didn't. Now, she didn't confirm nor deny marijuana. But
everybody was smoking back.
I never touched cocaine, and you know.
Why do you think you have the differing? Why would Baja tell me, who wasn't planning on having that question asked her? She wasn't even ready for that. You know, she said they did it once at the wedding. After the wedding, which I think they had that at Cirola and Leonard's place. She said she did that at the wedding, and then another time at the house, and she was describing how they made it up to freebase it. But that's only 2 times in the many years that Basha had known her. I don't see that as a big issue. What I see is if you're coming there and you're putting your ass on the line and saying that she's innocent, and my name is Rich Prater, she should tell you if she did coke or not. I mean, even though it doesn't make her a killer, but that's my opinion. That's just my opinion.
And I agree with you. She really has no reason to lie about that now. But let's also not forget, if you want to go off evidence here, if Darlie was doing all this coke and marijuana and God knows what else, how come her drug screen was negative across the board at Baylor University Hospital in Dallas?
Right. I believe that she was just a casual user. Like, well,
we can't prove that. No, we can't prove that.
We can't. But I'm gonna tell you one thing. I'm gonna let everybody know. I don't think drugs or drug use has anything to do with this killing at all. None. It wouldn't matter if they were doing sidewalk things full of coke. That's what people did back in the day. That's what people do now. I've hit my weed twice since we've been on here. So that's, you know, so the thing of it is, I don't understand when people say, well, Darren was dealing with these big coke dealers, but he really wasn't, because he only had a little bit. He was, you know, maybe these coke people, these drug people who sent somebody in there, it wasn't that bad of a problem for them to have that come upon them. Now, if there was kilos,
we don't know that though, Brian.
Well, if he was dealing a lot in coke, he wouldn't have been so broke at the time of their murders, right?
Well, I mean, you got to remember, on the day of the murder, Darren had $2,600 in their bank account. I have their bank statement. Right. And again, you're talking about 1996. $2,600 was a pretty decent chunk of change I have in the bank. Yeah, but it's been in 96. Even today, that's probably most than the average Joe Schmo would have in their bank account.
Right. So if he was dealing with a lot of big time drug dealers, don't you think he'd have more than $2,600 in his account?
It's hard to say unless he was being paid in dope.
Yeah. Well, that's
I
what I'm
don't
saying.
know. I don't know this stuff, Brian, for certain.
Somebody's so mad at Darren for owing them for coke that they want to come in and kill his 2 kids.
I've never made that assumption.
You haven't, but you wonder if some of the drug dealing and stuff that was going on around Darren was causing this kind of people to be around him. But the people that are around him, well, you told me, I'll give you an example. You told me that Darren, and this is nothing, that Darren and Kathy Ramsey's husband are good friends. So would that mean that Kathy's husband is a shady person because Darren hangs with him, or no?
I don't know Mr. Ramsey, Mr. St.John. I've never talked to the man, and I don't know him. But I seriously doubt that Kathy's going to be dealing with shadiness. I seriously doubt. She's a pretty simple bird.
I'm just using that as a hypothetical. So the people that are around Darren, like they keep saying that you guys keep going on Barry 5, and I know from trying to contact him that he don't want to talk about it.
Oh, of course not.
But how come in the appeals process, she's got all these investigators that's been working for her for 29 years. How come they haven't pounded out who it is that Darren asked these multiple people to break into his house? And why have they not brought Barry 5 in and questioned the fuck out of it? Why not?
Because first of all, we don't know. We don't know if they have or haven't. First off, okay, we don't know that. I'd love to know, but we don't know that.
If Darlie's family knew that, would they tell you? We've already interrogated.
I would. They might. I mean, I can't answer. They're not here. I can't answer. For them. But there's a few things I'd like to say. I just can't at this point. But they're looking at things a lot differently now than what they did in '96. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, they should be going back to talk to some of these people that the names came out, so we can either eliminate it, or she needs to eliminate Barry 5 one way or another. And same with Glenn Mize is dead now, I believe.
No, actually he's not. But that was somebody else very similar to him that lived in the same area. Actually, I had gotten that information. Who sent me that? I want to say that might have been Bernard Phillips that sent me that, and I remember sending it to Darlie, and Darlie Lynn had told her mother, and Darlie Key's like, I don't think you got the right guy. And she was right. I didn't have the right guy. I didn't know what he looked like or anything. I had a picture of him on there and the obituary and so on and so forth. But no, it was the wrong guy. But
he was in the non-support groups, just lurking. We knew he was in there, but he would never answer any question. He might have thumbs up once in a while. He would never answer any question. This is years ago before you came around. Let me respond to this. Susie Cusey says, I think Stephanie, speaking of Stephanie Harlow, on Crime Weekly didn't tell Darlie's story without projecting her current situation into it. She allegedly is having an affair with a production manager. Her husband offed himself. Okay. My response to that is, I asked Stephanie Harlow years ago, 10, 12 years ago, if she wanted to cover Darlie Routier case. And she said no. She said, I don't want on it. She's guilty. There's nothing else to talk about. And so that was before all this. She already thought that Darlie was guilty, but I don't know anything about this allegedly having an affair would have anything to do with how she thought Darlie was guilty or innocent. I knew it for a long time ago. She always thought that. Let me get that off of there. Okay, Rich. They give you a chance to breathe.
No, I'm good. I actually gonna take a quick bathroom break if you didn't mind. You start getting old and have diabetes, you got to go to the bathroom once in a while. So
that medicine. Go ahead, and I'll respond to some of these questions while you're going.
Yes, I'll be quick.
Barb Watson, Defense 40. If you guys have, even as supporters, if you guys have like this Defense 40 picture and things that you think can help Darlie, You're welcome to come over to the Darlie War Room. We're not going to bite your face off unless you try to bite our faces off. I'm not anything what people try to make it seem like I am. I'm not like that at all. I've seen someone that's in this chat right now put a post in there wondering where I was at on 6696. That person knows who they are, but I'm not that person. I want to be able to discuss the case and learn from it. Me and Rich are going to learn a couple things today, because number one thing is, I'll look at the camera. We do not want to put an innocent woman to death. It's your guys' job to prove that she is innocent. You can't just come on here going, oh, this guy, he does this, he does that, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to bite anybody's face off, but I do know that Darlie supporters are, they don't want them around me. They don't want them speaking to me. They don't want them looking at me. And all I can say is, you guys, there's a reason for that. Did everything come out all right?
Oh yeah, I'm still kicking.
You froze up. It's all right, but I can hear you. There you go. So I do want to clear up. People seem to think that you and I have this relationship.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up, Brian.
Well, where you would go against what the family would want, you would be like kind of betraying them and stuff like that. And it's not like that. I mean, we talk. Sometimes we stand on the phone 3-4 hours.
Well, Brian, but it's been said. Yes, we do some talking on the phone, and Danelle knows we talk.
It's case related.
Case related, but people think that. And don't get me wrong, Brian. I mean, there's been times I pissed you off and you pissed me off. We know this. All right.
It's not been that bad. I can't remember a time you made me. You kind of made me mad.
Yeah, I did.
When you wasn't going to bring Sully back up, and then you did. I was like, well, damn it, Rich.
Well, here's what gets me though, Brian, is it's been said that we have this almost like conspiring friendship against Darlie, and that is absolute ludicrous. And it's been made. This is what happens on cases like this. But this case is a little worse than most because it really gets out of control. The word has it, Brian, that because I'm from Ohio. I'm from Youngstown, Ohio. So people think, since you live in Ohio, that we had close ties in Ohio, and you're from Texas, and I live in Texas now. So they think we have this close relationship. They believe that I've changed my name, that I'm some type of horrible convicted felon. I don't have a felony. I don't have a felony on my record.
That's where this certain particular person gets her information wrong when she talks to the wrong people. There is a name change involved. Everybody knows there's a name change involved, but it's not you. So they got it all
not
mixed
with me. I never changed my name.
They got it. The thing of it is, I met you because you were doing Darlie is Innocent videos. And I would come over there.
I reached out to you initially. You remember back in those days, I thought she was guilty.
Well, I don't remember.
I reached out to you initially.
I don't remember ever you thinking she was guilty. I don't.
Oh, yes. I told you that. I told you that I was teetering on the case and I was leaning toward the guilty side. As a matter of fact, you were driving in your car doing a live. And I had come on your chat and I had sent you a comment of that. And it's been years, Brian.
Well, from the time that you did your first Darlie video, you felt like she was innocent, right?
Yeah, but I still, at the beginning of when I was doing podcasts, I still had some questions at that time. But yes, at that time when I started the podcast, I believe she was innocent. But you got to remember, I'd already been studying the case for almost 2 years at that point.
Right. Okay. Well,
almost 2 years.
Well, it's just like this for me. I do sit and think about this case and think, man, what if I'm wrong? And I've narrowed it down to this. Everything that's in my videos is stuff that's presented by forensics and the police as far as the case, plus a little bit of more of my insight. What would I feel like if I was wrong? I would feel like that the only way I could be wrong is if they come up with a piece of evidence that I've never seen, never heard of. That's,
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
the point with the evidence is that it's circumstantial, Mr. St.
I'm
John.
talking about physical evidence on this one. The circumstantial evidence played a part, but I don't give circumstantial evidence much credibility if there isn't any physical evidence, like the fiber. We can dispute that all day long.
Well, yeah, but they didn't even finish the testing on it, so that's not evidence.
Right. So they still have that. They still can. They're still able to do that, right?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Well, I mean, why in all these years are they waiting till now?
I'm not going to comment on that.
I understand.
There's something I know, but I can't say it.
Well, I understand it like this. Before you came around, this doesn't have nothing to do with you. The Darlie support side was all about free Darlie, send money. Free Darlie, send money. They had one person named Anella Walters. That was her job, to go around from group to group to group to ask for donations. So we know that they were getting some donations. We know that they were. So why didn't they take that money and say, "Oh no, this screen did not"? Because if you take that screen fiber out, non-supporter got a problem. If you find out,
there is a reason why they couldn't do that, but I can't say it. That's the problem.
You can't say why they didn't do it back then.
No, they could have done it at the time of trial, sure. But they even testified to the effect that there was more testing that needed to be done to validate what it was, and that test was available, and they didn't do it. But they said that microscopically that the fiber was identifiable to the screen, but they didn't prove it.
Yeah, I know Charles Lynch did in his affidavit said that it needed to be tested more. I just wonder if, like I said, I just wonder what is stopping them. I don't get it. She could die. What? Man, let's wait. And you guys, and another thing that you guys kind of do, and not just you, is I've heard a lot over the years. Before you, there was Dave Moffat, and his thing was, well, I could tell you this, but I'm not at liberty to say right now. That's what he always would say. So we've been hearing that for the longest time, and I can understand. But if you've got evidence that is going to show that Darlie is innocent, and you tell everybody about it, it's still going to be evidence that shows Darlie is innocent. There's nothing you can say to stop that from being evident.
We could also say that about the Rowlett Police Department, where Detective Patterson states that he's not going to talk about the case because he can't. So, I mean, if there was solid evidence that Mr. Patterson was correct and Darlie being guilty, why can't he talk about it? It's a closed case. It's a closed case.
I do believe that has to do with the police department policy. But in the past, he has showed up on a couple of different shows where he has spoke about it. But
he has. But what I'm saying is, if it's a closed case, it can be talked about. Now, the same argument can be used against me as well. But Darlie's current legal counsel has asked us not to speak about it.
Yeah.
So I am doing. I am because I have a great deal of respect for Vanessa Potkin. Mm-hmm. I think she's an incredible criminal defense attorney, and I think if anybody's going to be able to pull this off, she can. And very nice, charismatic woman too.
Okay, the thing with Jimmy Patterson was the very first time I talked to him about an interview, he said, "Well, I'll have to clear that with the chief." He did talk to me a little bit about the case. I mean, he didn't want to be on record. But he said, "I have to clear that with the chief if I can do any interviews with you." And a couple months went by, and I called him again, and that's when I said, "Well, hey, I'm going to be down there soon," and we did have to go through the public affairs. I think that the reason that he doesn't talk about the case so much is because it's policy within the Rowlett Police Department. But I can tell you this: Jimmy Patterson told me that when he retires, he'll be glad to tell me anything I need to know about the case. So that tells me that if he's no longer working for them, then he can speak. Now, Cron sent me an email. He spoke a little bit about it, and he said, "Pardon my brevity, but with the case being under appeal right now, I can only say so much." So they think that they can mess up the case by talking too. So I'll get
Right.
that
So
back.
that means they must not have solid evidence that she did it, right?
Well, if it's up for appeal, it's probably best to not talk about it, just like your guys' lawyers are saying. So it's probably best to not talk about it. But Patterson did tell me once he retires, he can tell me anything I want.
But I will say this, Brian, when I am given the green light to talk about this stuff, oh, you can bet that I will, because some of it's extremely significant.
Nextly, Jack Francis says, don't forget that Lynch made many cuts to that screen with the bread knife, and every time those same exact fibers ended up on the knife. Yeah, he's talking about where Lynch tested the fiber. He tested it with the other screen in the garage. And, he's saying whenever he cut it, that it came up, it always ended up on the knife. Now, I know you got something to say because I can see that look on your face. So go ahead. Go ahead.
Brian, that very easily could have been cross-contamination from a fingerprint brush because they went from that window seal to the knife block.
No, except for the fingerprint brush, that testing was done at a different time, and the brush is also a lot.
Now, how do you know that, Mr. St. John? I'm curious.
There's documents. I don't have them right in front of me, but I know that I think on June 11th. I don't know that they were. I know that the knife block was not tested with the very same fingerprint brush. I also
the bottom line is this: if I thought that this woman was guilty, and I really wanted to nail her to the cross for it, which I would. Sure. Nobody likes a baby killer, Mr. St. John.
Trust me, believe me, I know.
And let me say this: I would have done all the appropriate testing to prove that, because that is very, very significant. If that bread knife was used to cut that screen, it would have shown a lot of evidence, in my opinion, that it was somebody in the house to cut that screen.
Right. That is like a smoking gun. So if you guys,
but they didn't finish the investigation on it. So it's either it wasn't the same kind of fibers, or you got to remember, you're dealing with Lynch, who was a chronic alcoholic anyway. But
Lynch's affidavit that he wrote about that was solid, and it looked really good for Darlie. So no matter what he was drinking or not.
Well, you can say that. Let me think of somebody. You could said Barrett was a great musician and a great writer, which he was, but he LSD'd his ass to become non-functioning for the rest of his life. So you can look at it either way, really.
Well, most of the great people that we know of, had a John Kennedy drug problem. Did you know that?
President Kennedy struggled from a lot of health conditions, Mr. St. John. He had Addison's disease. He had back operations. His back was a wreck. He was in constant pain. So, yeah, he did take a lot of painkillers when he was the president of the United States due to the fact that he was in so much pain.
I want to respond to Jamie. She asked, have you ever cut a screen? Oh, my God, there are all kinds of fibers that go all over. She's absolutely right. You cut this screen down, its fibers are going to fly everywhere. But the one they found was caught in the teeth. And plus, it went through transportation from the garage, no matter who had it, no matter who cut it. It went from the garage to the knife block with the chance for all those to fall right off. They're lightweight. So, but
they'll actually just blow around in the air, Yeah.
Something I noticed the other day too, when I was looking through where the police officer is in the back the morning of the killings, and he's putting the tape up, and he's just on the other side of that gate. He's messing around just when the gate's open, and the shot is from the gate. And I happen to look back, and I noticed that the screen to that sliding screen glass door that's right behind Darlie's couch, the screen part of it is pushed back. Now, that doesn't mean anything, but it means somebody got it out of the way.
Brian, I've seen crime scene photos where you can see that the blinds on that door were clearly disturbed. Do you know what picture I'm talking about?
I think I know. I know that you could. I know that I've studied those pictures as I would if I were coming over that fence and I saw that TV light. You know, what can I see and what can they possibly see? So I knew that it wasn't shut down, if that's what you meant. But
Well,
my point about the screen being cut from the inside or the outside, which has never been definitively said, to be honest with you. But Darlie could have slid that black glass door open and stepped to 2 feet to cut that and then go back and drop it in the. She could have done that. And matter of fact, if logically, that's what I would think how she did it. If she did it. Go ahead, Rich. I hear you.
no, it's okay. I mean, that's speculation, but I know what you're talking about. I've been there. I know exactly what you're talking about. If you look at the outside of that window, okay, where the screen was cut on the outside, there is disruption that had transpired on that exposed aggregate concrete porch.
Yeah,
you could clearly see that there's a chair flipped over. The toys, I believe that the one toy was flipped over too.
Yep.
It looks like there's a coat there, but or maybe a shirt, but I've never read or heard anything about anything with that shirt, so I don't know what the story is of that exactly. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about, you were sending me texts on Gorsuch. I think there's a piece in his testimony that's extremely critical here.
About the noise.
The noise, exactly. Now, Brian, you've been to the house. I've been to the house, and you know how that gate is over there. And you know that and I know you know a lot about construction because you used to work construction, but if you look at the pitch on that driveway, it's pretty sharp. And it's probably, and if you look at the gate on that door, no, unless you trim it accordingly, bottom of that gate, it's going to rub. It's going to make noise, and it's going to click.
You notice how, yes, because it has that black lock.
That is correct.
It was wired up. It was wired up. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but it's noisy. I open them gates almost every day going to job sites down here. And it makes me think of this every day because Gorsuch testified to the effect that before he went into the house, he was just kind of looking up at the stars. I can understand that. The skies are beautiful down here at night. Yeah. Sunsets. I mean, I know it was 2:30 in the morning.
There was a lot of jitterbugs out there, and when I was walking around, and I find that peaceful.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. But here's the key to his testimony that I think has never really gotten enough attention. He said before he went into the house, and he got there, if I recall, I think his testimony said it, I think he said 2:25 a.m. Brian, if I'm wrong on that, correct me.
I don't know the exact times, but it was right around.
He said he was stargazing for a minute.
He stood by his truck.
And then he decided to go in the house. And right before he went in the house, he heard a noise coming from the direction of the Routier house. He was asked under testimony. He was asked, "What did the noise sound like?" And he's like, "I can't describe the noise. You know, I mean, you can tell what a car door sounds like. You can tell what a front door, back door might sound like. But the gates, they have a very distinct noise to them.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, at 2:30 in the morning, there's no sound pollution.
Okay, so
like it is during the day.
Let me reiterate with this: if Gorsuch heard it in his house, why didn't Domain hear it upstairs? And another thing, if Gorsuch heard that gate scrape before the 911 call, well, who's to say Darlie wasn't taking the sock out then?
Well, I understand that. But first of all, we don't know if Domain responded to that noise. We have no way of knowing that.
You don't really hear him barking in the 911 call.
But this was before the 911 call.
Right. So if he heard that scrape,
the 911 call was made at 2:31 a.m.
6 minutes.
That's right. And that's a hell of a window when it comes to a homicide investigation. 6 minutes is big.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would assume, I would assume that the dog would have been throwing a fit if it heard that, and somebody would have heard the dog.
I don't disagree with you on that. I have questions about that stuff too, Brian.
Yeah,
I can't believe that Mr. Routier didn't hear things going on downstairs.
Well, if he wasn't intended to hear it, he's not going to hear it. But when I was at that house, I said, there's the back gate. I was filming it. I zoomed in on it, and you can see that it's got a piece of cement that's maybe 8 or 9 inches. It's elevated right there. You can see it. It looks like that's a new fence.
It is a new fence.
It's
fairly newer.
That one, the reason that I stepped up out, on it so close is I wanted to see if there are scrape marks in that cement, because I know that driveway hasn't been relayed. I wanted to see if there were scrape marks, but I couldn't get close enough to see it. That's what I wanted.
That's the original driveway there.
Yeah. I know it hasn't been changed, because I took the video where I was standing back there, and I matched it up with UNT where they're out back there. I matched the lines and almost the cracks and everything up just to be sure. I want to know if it was the same one it was.
Oh shit, Brian! Bonnie just sent me a text. Let me look real quick. She said it's starting to thunder and lightning outside, and I'm looking at the radar. Well, it'll knock my internet out, Brian. I'm just telling you. Oh, it's coming right for me too. Shit.
Yeah. If it knocks you out, it knocks you out.
Yeah,
so,
I'm enjoying this, Brian. I'm enjoying this.
I wish that supporters and non-supporters were able to have these conversations, because we can learn off each other. And the goal for both of us is we don't want to put an innocent woman to death. That sticks on our side too. If she's innocent, we don't want her to die. And I'll clear up some things about. I will say, as far as the family goes, I know you don't want to talk too much about them. But I can say, as far as Danelle goes, man, she is a wonderful person. Her family life, because I've seen it. And some of the stuff she says outside of the case, I think she's a great person.
Well, it's even greater when you meet her, and you have to remember. I mean, I met all 4 of her children, and I was impressed with every one of them. So respectful and so well behaved.
Yes, I was very impressed when I was talking to Brooklyn. I was really
I mean, I went to one of their family gatherings for something, and I mean, I sat for a good period of time right next to Darlie Key chatting with her. I loved it. I loved talking with her.
Yeah.
The same with Danelle, and the festivity was great. I'd never been to something like that before. And there were 2 other people that were on my panel at that time that attended that day with me as well. And I think that they both really enjoyed themselves there.
Let me respond to Bathsheba real quick. Brian, you said that you couldn't wait for the drip, drip, drip to begin. And this was about 2 weeks ago. Now, I may have said something like that, because if she's guilty, I can't wait for the drip, drip, drip to begin. And I'm going to tell you, I've put up with a whole lot. I've said this in the past. I've put up with a lot of stuff being accused of things that I'm not doing, wasn't thinking about doing. And if it wasn't solely, it was one before that, one before that, and one before that. They've all done it. And so the supporters make me so fucking mad sometimes, that it's about this much of a revenge thing. Like, I told you so. And that's not Darlie's fault. That's not fair to her. It's not fair to her at all. But yes, Bathsheba, if she's guilty, yes. And how can I say, in my own life with my son, he's lucky he didn't catch the death penalty. Because if he did, I would have to accept it. Wouldn't like it. But I wouldn't be out here saying he lost 50% of his blood neither, when I know he did. Rich, you can go ahead and go. You can go ahead.
No, it's okay, Brian. You're just responding to somebody's comment. I haven't talked to Bathsheba in a long time. She's really an awesome lady, by the way. It's good to see you, Bathsheba. I figured I better say that.
She's one of the supporters. She's one of the supporters that does get under my comments and question and call and call me out on things. She does that, and we've never had a problem. Never.
No, she's very, very nice lady. I've had her on my panel before.
Yeah.
I'd like to have her on again. We've talked about it, but it's just never transpired. But Brian, I'm not going to disagree with you that there are some supporters that are nasty people. I will agree with you on that. But at the same time, I can name a lot of nasty people on the non-support side too.
I know. There are some. We got some very outspoken females out there. That's for sure.
I don't care about the outspokenness, but just because you don't like something I say, you want to bite my head off and say horrible things. That's not going to get anybody anywhere.
I don't do that right off. I think I know who you might be talking about, but I don't do that right off the rip.
But like more than one.
Well, for me, I have to be provoked. You haven't provoked me or insulted my intelligence at any point during. Neither have the people in the chat that are normally over on your chat. But if somebody would, that's going to throw me off from talking about the case to defending myself. And I met with that type of stuff as soon as I left support. As soon as I left, Rich, I wasn't even trying to talk about the case anymore. Everybody knows the story, but when I left, it started immediately. The biggest thing they were saying was, well, Darlie rejected him and he was sending her love letters. That went on for like a year before somebody finally asked her. And that came from Gia Leone, and it also came from Mama Darlie.
Well, just like I'm a convicted felon and changed my name, and I've been best friends with you for years, Mr. St. John.
But didn't that come from your side?
Kind of shit. Well, I know, but I'm just making a point. It's happened to me too. And anybody that, I'll never forget, anytime that somebody wants to advocate on the case on the support side, and if I talk to them, they're like, I remember talking to Donnell for the first time. It's like, yeah, I'm going to start getting a lot more involved and, so on and so forth. And the first thing I told Donnell, I said, you're brave. I said, you better be ready because they're coming after you.
Well, I mean, I kind of gave her a test on that. We hit each other in the low spots. She doesn't want to touch on certain aspects of the case, and you can't do that if you're supporting somebody. You can't say, I don't want to talk about that. It's not case related when it is. But I'm not going to discuss it. You don't have to mention it. But I know I felt awful during arguing with Donnell like that. It didn't bother me. But afterwards, I'm still thinking, this is a victim. I've watched her fucking grow up just about. I've seen her from 13 on, and she's still a victim, but it's
14.
hard. Yes, 13 or 14. Yeah, something like that. But I felt so bad after that I wouldn't want to do it again. But if she was to say, let's go live, we do it. We'd end up in an argument because she don't want to hear it. And I understand that. I understand that they're going.
Well, they're tired, Brian.
Yeah, I bet they are.
They're tired.
I get it from somebody that I know is guilty. So I know how they feel when they're trying to proclaim her innocence.
Well, tell me this, Brian, because I know you went to the gravesite. And I remember telling you when the first time you go to that gravesite, it's quite a slap in the face.
It was. And I wasn't able to.
It's horrible.
The first time I went over to the house, I wasn't able. We didn't have time. I wanted to go. She didn't want to go inside the house, so I was catching shit from my wife. I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. I want to go in there. I want to go in there." So I was a supporter, and we parked right where they said that black car was, right where Karen Neal said that black car was, and she didn't want to go in the house. So I went in. I'm getting all excited and worked up, and she don't like nothing to have nothing to do with this. So I did. I said, "Well, I want to run over to Rest Haven," and she didn't want me to, so I didn't. But this time when I got over there, it looks so much the same as you see in the 9-1 or the silly string. The tree's a little bit bigger. And I just felt the aura of Devin and Damon and all the sadness that was around that. No matter who you are, the sadness that was around. I felt that.
No, it's awful.
And then when I put the camera down, I wanted to get a shot of Beja just standing there, Basha, and she answers both of those. but that's why I honed in on to where she said, "I miss you so much." You know, so and she was getting a little teary eyed, but I don't know how long it had been since she hadn't been there. But yeah, what were you saying about me going over there?
Well, I mean, the first time I went there, they told us where they were at. Yeah, we did what you did. We asked them where they were located, and it's actually you Google search it, it'll tell you where they're at in the cemetery.
Yeah,
You can
I
actually
know
Google
that now.
search.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
not that hard to find from the funeral thing. It's not.
no, but I mean there's that's
It's
a
two
pretty
rights
large
and a left.
cemetery. I've seen bigger, but it's a large cemetery. We went in there and I said, well, we're in the section where they're buried, but it's big. And I said, so Bonnie, you go that way and I'll go this way. And we started looking.
Oh, I
And
went inside. They gave me a handwritten thing of where it was.
yeah, and I was walking and Bonnie's like, hey, I found them. So I turned back around and walked back over there, and there they were. And
The headstone is a lot bigger than I thought it was. I knew when I was coming up on it right away because there's this white bench right there. So I said, "Oh, there it is." But I had went inside and asked them, and they said they get a lot of visitors to that. A lot of people ask. So she had a write-up thing written out already for me, sent me over there, and like I said, the first thing I noticed was it seems bigger than what it was. That there was a lot of sadness over there, and how wet. I mean, it was raining, but this is like it had been raining for days, months. How wet it is around, so I can see how it got damaged, and it's probably damaged again because of where they buried them. But yeah, it did.
It doesn't help with a tree there either, because tree roots are very damaging.
But the zone that I was in, I mean, I was in a zone when I was there. First of all, I felt good to be able to take Basha there because I know she loves them. And then it felt good for me to see it myself, and to put my hands on it because I know that their little bodies are, right under there. So I was trying not to get I was just trying to be sure to film and let Basha talk so much, but it was a fanning moment for me. And then when I went to the Rowlett Police Department and we see that little clip of them walking in, that was a to take those same steps because Darlie walked in there and she didn't walk out. And I noticed that as Patterson opened the door, he put his hand on Darren's back and gave him a couple pats on his back because he knew what he was about to do. He knew Darren was getting ready to watch his wife get arrested. They separated them. But anyways, about you at the graves.
Well, I mean, I've been there many times, and there's actually people that's on your show right now that's been there with me. It was very painful for all them too. And we met Danelle there once, and Danelle brought this beautiful bouquet of flowers. And when I got there, and this is very sad for me because Danelle's like a sister to me, and when I see this, I don't want to see her sad, And she brought that big bouquet of flowers, and as soon as I got there, she gave me a hug, and we went over to the grave. You should have seen the look on her face, and I told her, I said, I'm sorry if this is bothering you. I can understand why. I said I can see it on your face.
Yeah.
It was just very disturbing to me. I mean, and yeah, the other ladies that I was there with, they clearly were not enjoying themselves. But I think that their hearts were wanting to visit those little boys. So I think they're real proud that they had that opportunity. But I don't think that anybody really enjoys themselves there. No. But Brian, anytime I go there, that grave is beautifully decorated. You see it at Christmas time.
Well, Rich, you might have stuck your foot in your mouth just a second ago. You realize what you said?
What?
You said I don't think anybody enjoys themselves there.
Who would enjoy themselves there, Mr. St. John? When you know what happened.
But we saw people enjoying themselves there.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Brian. Let's get it on. I know what you're talking about.
Darlie looked
Yeah, let's
relieved.
talk about it.
She looked relieved to me, and a lot of the insight that I got. This is before I was able to sit down. Now, I talked to Basha way more than what I've shown. I
Sure.
actually went in and talked to him. I didn't film in her house, but I was trying to get a feel of what Darlie's mental state was there while Basha was there with me, and we stood to the side. I said, "Is this where they, is this where they stood at?" So I stood right where Darlie stood at, and I asked Basha. I said, "Well, Drake was messing with your leg or something, whatever." But she said, as soon as she started talking, I saw the fake. All right, that's what Basha said. Do you have any reason? Why would she say that? Why do you think she said that?
Well, I wasn't there. This is what I can tell you. Out of, I mean, from knowing Darlie personally, she's a foot in front of me, 2 feet in front of me, on several different visits. No, I don't think Darlie was acting herself. I think Basha-Javel was right. I don't think she was acting like herself, but she certainly don't act like that behind bars either. Let me say this. Let's not forget what just happened days prior to that. Okay, let's not forget that Darlie was injured prior to that, seriously injured in my opinion. And Darlie was also on Xanax, and she was also on Darvocet, which has been taken off the market. She was also on Loratabs, and she was also on Augmentin 850 milligrams, which is an antibiotic, which wouldn't have a bearing on someone's attitude. But
well, not to mention, she also said that people kept giving her pills.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree with that, but I mean, it couldn't have been too many pills that were extremely mind altering, because it would have showed up on a drug screen. I don't know. I don't know anything about that. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know what people were giving her.
She made a statement that people kept giving her pills. She looked kind of high. Cirillo said she was high. And
you talking about the silly string?
Yeah, Cirillo said she was high.
Probably was.
Well, but the thing of it is, and I want to go back to your last episode you had with Sully. Here Sully is talking about Mary Rickles and Basha-Jovel's drug issues, when the same thing was going on with Darlie, because Darlie said people kept giving me pills. So if she took a pill from somebody that wasn't prescribed to her, she could have got the same kind of charges that Basha-Jovel did, but she didn't get caught. And so I'm glad you took that down, because it didn't help you guys at all. I'm glad you took it down. It didn't help you guys. It's like, what's the point of bringing up Mary Rickles' drug past if she's trying to help the problem? She's trying to help by saying, "Hey, I saw 2 people out here." And then so Sully just made it look like to a newcomer, well, I can't believe nothing that lady said, because she's a drug addict. She didn't see 2 people. So that hurts your guys' cause. And I'm going to tell you, outside of what Rich thinks or anybody else thinks, if you guys have never took my word on something before, take my word on this. Sully is going to hurt support. I knew it from the rip. She's not to be trusted. It's too bad that she's weaseled her way in to make herself friends over there. But I think that Danelle is too smart to let it continue. That's my point. And
I'm not speaking for Danelle here. I want to make this very clear. But you're right, Brian. Danelle is a very smart woman. She's not stupid. She's not stupid.
No,
and she does her homework. And so now where she's at with all that, whether I knew or not, I'm not going to say, because it's not for me to say it. It's for Danelle to say it if she chooses to do so.
Well, I don't want to see anybody.
She's on top of things. Believe me, she's on top of things, and she knows what's what.
The bottom line is
and Brian, I'm gonna be honest with you. I asked Danelle to come here today with me.
No, it wouldn't go good.
Well,
I would try.
Well, I thought it would. I thought it would be a good idea, actually, as long as things were kept civil and personal, private matters were kept out of it on all of our sides.
I understand. But I showed where I've talked with her before behind the scenes, and I would be talking just as polite as you are, and she starts with moron, mentally ill. She starts getting insulted, and I'm not good with
Well, I know, Mr. St. John, but I mean, she loves her famly dearly, and I'm not
I don't blame her.
saying anything one way or the other. I'm just saying
I don't blame her.
that you get pretty rough with matters, and she's sensitive. She gets, I mean,
But I think that just from what I know of Danelle, because I've studied this case for a long time, so knowing some of the family members is just part of it, and I've seen her stuff. I know that she's got a wonderful family. I know from talking to her daughter for a little while on YouTube or on Facebook that she was brought up. That it surprised me how well and classy that young lady was. So you get that from parenting. You don't always get good stuff from parenting, but Danelle, she is a force to be reckoned with. And as far as if people want to say I might have had googly eyes for Darlie, Danelle's got a better chance. I think she's good looking. She's cute. She's very cute. And it's hard for me to argue with a female that's cute.
I think all three of the sisters are beautiful ladies.
I
get a little older, but hell, so am I, and so are you. So
I never had the googly eyes for Darlie. She just I don't like all that. For me, in a female, I don't like all that makeup, that dyeing hair. I don't like all that fake stuff.
Well, I don't
knock her for doing that. I don't knock that. She can do that if she wants. But when I see that, that's not for me.
I've never seen Danelle Stahl wear a ton of makeup.
Nope. So you see, she's cute.
She doesn't have to. I think she's a very beautiful woman. As a matter of fact, I was telling her not too long ago. Because I said, Danelle, I got to ask you because, not only is she a registered nurse, if I have a question, something with health or something, I'll ask her. She'll tell me this or that. She's always hit the nail right on the head too. And I was talking with her. I said, Danelle, I know you're a little heavier at one time. You lost a lot of weight, and I said, you look fantastic now.
She's cute then.
I said, please tell me what the secret is, and. Well, she said that, having 4 children pretty much back to back and that does do a toll on a woman's body, and obviously, more of a stricter diet and stuff like that. And she was able to do it. I mean, her weight right now is probably literally to the tick of perfect for a woman of her age and whatnot. Yeah. And she looks great. She looks fantastic. It takes a lot of discipline, Bryan, to do stuff like that. It really does.
Well, trust me, I know. The thing with Danelle is it's she was raised in this, and I don't want to go over. Okay, Rich, what's a superficial wound?
Well, I mean, I'm not a medical professional, but I know how they meant it in court, and during trial, they pretty much meant it as an insignificant wound or a minor wound.
The first conversation I had with Danelle, she was trying to convince me that superficial wasn't superficial.
Well, Bryan, there is different definitions of it, but sure. but here's what's important about it. Okay, anybody gets you have arteries in your arms, Bryan. You're getting a knife wound to the bone. I actually seen that scar with my own eyes. She could have very easily had an artery severed, and could have. I'm surprised she didn't, to tell you the truth. Also, that neck wound, we already know the severity of that. You're 2 millimeters away from the carotid artery. I mean, Bryan, that's so close, it's not even funny. And, the carotid artery ruptures or cuts or whatever, I mean, they're 99.9% of the time fatal. Yeah, I mean, you bleed out in a matter of a couple of minutes, and, you can't normally get treatment that quick. But
I can tell you, if you're going to, now, Dr. Dillon, in his testimony, when they were discussing whether or not superficial was used to describe direction, which is probably what you were getting ready to say. That Dr. Dillon's testimony says whoever's using it that way is using it wrong.
Well,
that's not what we meant.
It 6-1 half dozen the other. What's more important here is Darlie's wounds and the severity of them. And oh no, they could have never been fatal. They most certainly could have been fatal.
Sure,
you could have severed an artery in the arm. Her carotid artery could have been cut. She was also stabbed in the chest. That was a minor stab, but she was stabbed in the left upper chest. Any kind of chest stabbing is.
I think the only way that her wounds would have been fatal that night is if nobody called an ambulance.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. We have no evidence that she severed an artery in her arm. We have no evidence that that happened. Well, we know her carotid artery wasn't cut.
I think that
they could have been cut.
Right. Well, I do think that I think that her cuts have been maximized over the years on the support side, but I wouldn't want to cut like that on my neck.
Hell no.
But
yeah. I mean, if somebody's slicing your neck, they're not trying to hurt you; they're trying to kill you.
Barb Watson says superficial versus superficial too. Now I understand that that is a definition of it, but if you read the two doctors' testimony in there, that's not how they were using it, and they made that clear in testimony. So
what should have been made clear is that those wounds were significant, because a little bit of a difference in movement on the knife wound to the arm could have severed an artery. And 2 millimeters, we're talking literally the thickness of this tissue, maybe less.
Well, it's the thickness of a rolling paper.
Yeah, there you go. That's true. I mean,
we got that from Mama Darlie.
Well, it's true.
But she at that time she said it was 1 millimeter. But
she did say that one time. I don't. But it was
actually. She had a camera on her. I'll give her that.
Well, I don't care if it was 5. That's still close. It was close. Yeah.
So how would she know not to cut that? Is a lot of people ask that.
Well, it's because she didn't do it.
Right. Well, Jodi Arias was going to attempt suicide, and she said, she put a little slice on her neck, and they asked her why she stopped. She said because it hurt. Jodi Arias said that. I think that her wounds, as they are not life-threatening, and so did the doctors. They didn't. Doctors.
Well, they weren't life-threatening because they didn't cut or stab into nothing vital, but they were damn close.
Right? They could have. It could have. Right? It could have, and it makes me wonder why didn't it? If that intruder did that, what he did to Devin and Damon, why did she?
And if Darlie did that to herself because she wanted to kill herself, I think she'd have been a little bit more precise with the stabbing. And Darren carried a gun. Now, I don't know if the gun was in that house that night. They didn't find a gun in the house, but Darren did carry a gun. If she's going to kill her kids, why not blow her face off afterwards? That's short, sweet, and simple and to the point.
Yeah.
But instead, you're going to stab yourself twice and slice your throat.
I think
that's not painful to me.
I think that in the beginning process of all this, her intention was for Darren to come downstairs and find everybody gone. But you do make a good point. She didn't have to stab herself in the chest, stab herself in the arm, if she was trying to kill herself, if that's what it was. So that's what leads me back to, well, she had to stage the scene. Maybe her intention was, it's hard. This is why we don't have to prove motive in the United States. Maybe her intention was.
Well, maybe they should.
Yeah, well, you can't prove motive on anything because you don't know what's going through somebody's mind. If an intruder did this, he had a lot of mixed things going through his mind. You couldn't pinpoint on just one of them.
Sure.
Like if Darlie did this, there's a lot of stuff. All right, what's a good reason to kill 2 kids?
A very valid point, Brian. Very valid point. That was my biggest argument at the very beginning. Why would somebody go into the house and butcher 2 little boys like that? What could possibly be the motive for something? I totally agree with you.
Well, as somebody in the past, I have broken into houses in the past as a kid. One of the things that would throw me off is that freaking TV. outside of the gate. Even if I saw the window open from the outside of the gate, I'd be like, no, I'm not taking a chance of getting caught up in that backyard. So I can't see a random person just choosing that house. There's so many deterrents. I can't see someone who was paid or hired to do it because they wouldn't have had to come in the back window. If they were paid or hired to do it, if Darren led somebody over there, they'd have a way in the front door. But as far as an intruder, I'm man, that house is so far off from something that I would want to risk climbing into, especially with that TV on.
Unless they were familiar with the outlay of the house and the property and the neighborhood.
But that would stop it from being a random person then.
I agree.
Right.
Because so I don't think it was a random person that did it.
A lot of people do think it was a random person.
I disagree. I don't think the evidence shows that at all. As a matter of fact, I believe that Darlie was the target. And I believe Darlie was attacked first. And, it's quite possible, Brian, that the intruder didn't know that those boys were even in there.
If Darlie was attacked first, she says she raises up and sees a man going away from her. How come she didn't see them, attack her boys?
Well, according to Darlie, she don't remember a good bit there because of the fact she just can't remember. They claimed it was traumatic amnesia. It's possible. Right. I don't know. Yeah, I wasn't there. I'm not a medical professional. What I'm going to say is this. Here's what grabs me on the whole thing. You look at Diane Downs. You look at Susan Smith. Okay, they perfectly describe these intruders down to the tick, head to toe. And these people didn't exist. Okay, now, how come Darlie didn't do that? Why not give a full description of somebody like they did? And those other two women were guilty as hell.
This all goes back to why we don't have to prove motive, because we don't know what's in the mind of somebody that's lost their mind for a moment. Jamie didn't ask. She wants to reiterate to me about Dr. Vince DeMaio, who was the medical examiner for San Antonio, Texas. He testified for the defense based on looking at pictures and not seeing Darlie at all. He disagreed about the self-inflicted wound. He disagreed about them being superficial. He disagreed about them being defense wounds. He claimed they were defense wounds. But, I always go back to DeMaio. I always go back to JFK. DeMaio was the one that said he did not agree that Oswald shot from that window, and he believed that the killings was done from the Daltex building across the street. And anybody that studies this, that doesn't sound right. So,
I disagree. I totally disagree. It's been about 10 years or so, Brian. They had to redo the roof on the Daltex building. And when they went up there, they actually found 2 rifle bullets and I think it said Winchester 1959 on it. And they said that you could tell they've been up there for a long time because they were weathered. I've never seen these bullets. I want to make that clear. However, I think the trajectory matches perfectly from the Daltex to JFK's back wound. And there's possibility.
But you think that was part of the crossfire? He doesn't think.
Yeah, definitely, because I know there was a shooter in that knoll.
He doesn't think anything.
101 witnesses in Dealey Plaza that day.
DeMaio doesn't think anything came from the Texas School Book Depository. Anything.
I didn't say anything did.
Well, DeMaio doesn't think anything did.
I don't think it did either. I think there was a blank fired from there to attract attention to it, so people would start looking up there while they get a kill shot in.
And we'll stop with that. Let's
get right.
This is where I agree that when Oswald said he was just a patsy, Oswald, I believe, was supposed to fire off blank shots to scare. But anyway,
how did he get from the 6th floor to the 2nd floor snack room in under 90 seconds?
It could be a misconstruction of time, but I know what you're talking about. He was sitting down drinking Dr. Pepper. I know.
No, he was drinking a Coke.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, he was drinking a Coke, not a Dr. Pepper.
Well, okay, hey, good. If you know the facts, good. Now, but Dr. DeMayo looked at all the evidence of Darlie just based on pictures. And in the past, the supporters know that Alan Brantley, FBI guy, they know that all he based his theory on was pictures. And they would keep saying, well, all he did was look at pictures. All he did was look at pictures. That's the same thing DeMayo did. He looked at pictures and reports. He never talked to Darlie.
But he was one of the country's leading forensic physicians at one time.
Absolutely. And Tom Bevel was one of the country's leading blood spatter analysis at the time.
Who's been greatly.
I never did
I'm trying to use respectful words here, Brian, but he's
fucked up a few
many
times.
of his findings have been rejected over the years as well.
It makes me wonder.
Discredited. That's what I
never looked into DeMayo sitting on the stand testifying. I never looked into if he's failed or not. I know it's a perfect science, not a perfect science, but you can't really say this guy, he only looked at this stuff from the pictures. You can't really discredit. Now, Danelle has an issue with discrediting James Cron so much that I think she kind of needs to quit doing that, because Crime Weekly caught on to that, and these are seasoned journalists.
Well, I think again with James Cron, I think the thing. The guy does have a very extensive policeman-like past. Here's the issue with it. Are you that puffed up to go through a house in 20 minutes and say somebody in the house did it before you test any of the evidence when you have a cut screen? Now, if you didn't have a cut screen, I would still say to make sure that evidence gets tested. Who the hell knows who got a key?
Well, his instincts were not bad.
Well, maybe one day we'll find out.
I hope so. I hope that you guys do.
I do too.
But she wants to discredit him and build other people up, because I know you don't want to get into it, but she's always going, he's just a fingerprint guy. He never did. No, he was the commander of the crime.
He was a fingerprint guy.
Yeah, that was one of the things he did. And she said, oh, he was retired. He didn't even work in. Okay, so could we say to Danelle, since you don't work with patients anymore, you're not a nurse?
I'm not going to discuss Danelle's private life and her employment.
I understand, but she's made it perfectly clear that she works from home. It's not a big
okay. That's fine if she told you. I don't know.
Right, but but Cron doesn't. He was retired. She keeps saying he's a citizen. He's a citizen. Yes, he's a citizen. So are all those police officers and detectives that were there. They're also citizens.
Okay, well, I know Cron's been on a lot of investigative cases, a lot of big cases. I know he has.
Yeah, the thin blue line.
I don't care if he's Perry Mason. The bottom line is he went through Darlie's house after 20 minutes, says somebody in the house did it before any of the evidence was ever tested or collected.
And my response to that would be, so what's the guy's name that came in there?
Well, okay, fair enough, Brian. I'll give you that. But I can also say, in retrospect to that, is maybe if everything had been completed and not incompleted, maybe we would have gotten those answers all the way back then.
Yeah. Well, I do understand that there could have been more studying, but with all of the testing that Darlie has been granted over the years, it kind of makes it look like that police stuff wasn't as shoddy as we all thought, because the DNA so far keeps pointing back to her.
Okay, but wait a second, Brian. Wait. Another thing that gets me, we touched on this on the phone. We're going to talk about some of the fingerprint evidence. I mean, A85 to J85 wasn't even looked at, wasn't even tested, wasn't nothing.
Well,
there's a lot of goddamn fingerprints for double homicide not to be looked at, don't you think?
I also know that Cirillo told us they got a hold of Chad Patterson's fingerprints and they compared it to 85J. If they can do that, why can't they have all these other ones tested?
And I'm not saying that Chad Patterson was involved in this horrible thing, but what I'm saying is how come A85 to J85 was never investigated, never ran, never studied?
because they don't feel
Well,
like
J85 has been now.
Yeah.
I was wrong. J85 has been now.
it has been a couple times.
And we were able to prove that it wasn't Darlie's print.
Well, I beg to differ. That's where we're going to.
Okay, well,
She hasn't been ruled out.
she hadn't been ruled in either.
Nope. They can't confirm or deny. That's where that stands. But what Darlie has to do in order to get exonerated, if you want full exoneration, is she has to put a name on a person and prove actual innocence. So if let's say you get a profile from here and there, if there's no name on it, you guys are back at square one. She has to put a name on it. And now if you guys were to find a courtroom technicality, something that got her out on a technicality, is that the same as Darlie's innocent? Because that's what she put.
I mean, I would still think she was innocent, but I would rather not see her get out for that because I know she didn't do it. We just got to find the proof of it, which in some cases now I think we have. But I agree with you. I've even told my former team this. I know I've told Danelle this. You know, it's going to be next to impossible to get her out if we can't get a name of somebody who might have come in there. And I agree with that. That's a touchy area right now. So I don't want to get real deep, but I would really, oh my God, that'd be phenomenal news if we could get news like that. I can't tell you what greatness that would bring to me if they could find that. However, if like I said, I got to be real careful with this. There's a lot I'd love to be able to discuss, and believe me, when we can, we will. But
I hope you guys do. I've said before you even were around, before when I first started doing videos, even though there was a lot of drama, there was a lot between me and Mama Darlie. But I've always said, I really hope that you guys find the evidence that you need. I want her to not be guilty. I don't want her to be guilty.
Yeah, I've heard you say that.
And if you guys were to find something that proved her innocence, and I felt like that proved her innocence, it shows it to me, I'd be the first one. I wouldn't take down any of my Darlie videos. I wouldn't do that. I would just change it to look what the state of Texas and forensics has done. You know, because I don't think that, I think if you guys do find something that exonerates her, it's going to be something that I didn't know about, or Pam didn't know about, or the non-supporters didn't know about. And if that's the case, you can't hold us accountable for what we believed in. If that's the case, if they come back tomorrow, and say, okay, that screen fiber, that wasn't from the screen, that's enough for me. That really is enough for me. That is enough for me. If they say that screen was not cut by that serrated knife, that's enough for me to stop. That's it. So I hope you guys get that.
Well, I can't discuss it at this point. I wish I could. Believe me, I really wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah. If you guys get her out on a courtroom technicality, that's where she stands to win a bunch of money.
Well, I don't think they're aiming towards that. I don't.
Well, Darlie doesn't question the evidence against her. She feels like it's sufficient for her conviction. She signed that.
Well, I don't know all the circumstances behind that, to tell you the truth. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know all the circumstances behind it. But I'm not sure that that's what she thinks, that there was sufficient evidence against her. I don't think she thinks that. Apparently, she doesn't think it because
she didn't. She signed on a habeas or something, a writ. I'll send it to you.
I think you could send it to me, but I think I know what you're talking about. And that was right before the trial, if I recall.
Yeah, she's not debating the evidence. And another thing I wanted to get into with, because I know that this boils your fucking ass so bad, is when Patterson and Frost took the fifth. I know it boils your ass. You don't like
it?
Not necessarily.
Well, Brian, I mean, Detective Patterson, first off, okay, was a narcotics officer. And then at the time of the beginning of this case, he becomes the lead homicide detective on this very controversial case. And if some of the stuff we have found is accurate, and I have every reason to believe that it is, it will be very damning for him.
He had served as a lead detective on 5 homicides before Darlie's.
Okay, all right. Now there's something I didn't know, Brian. So you know what? That's a correction I'm going to have to make.
Yeah, that's in his testimony. He went from narcotics.
Well, okay, okay. I don't know how I overlooked that. Evidently, I did. Yeah. But let me say this: you are lead homicide detective on a double homicide and an attempted homicide. You shouldn't be pleading the fifth on shit. I don't even care if it's the last time you wiped your ass.
Well, I hope they wouldn't ask him that.
Well, they might as well have asked him that if he's going to plead the fifth. Okay,
you realize that Doug Mulder was, before he was asking them questions about when he went in and out of the house, he asked him case-related questions, and then he just popped up with that. He got over to the cemetery part, and he asked him, "Were you the ones that did you put that mic in there?" He said, "No, 2 other officers did it." Patterson was answering him until he said, "Do you know that's a federal crime and that you're going to go to jail for that?" And the question was, the answer was, "Well, I'm not sure what kind of crime that is. I need counsel." They weren't sure back then. He was honest.
Maybe he should have known that before he started investigating double homicides. I mean, that's, Well,
Doug Mulder should have known it too before he questioned him on the stand about it. That
Fair enough.
It wasn't illegal.
Well, I'm not a big fan of Doug Mulder either, as you understand, Mr. St.John.
Right. But so the reason that Doug Mulder called them up there was to play around with a few little questions and then bam, hit him with this.
Yeah, I know what he was doing. Yeah.
That's theatrics. Now, if Jimmy Patterson would have took the fifth and it wasn't specifically only about that surveillance, I'd have a huge fucking problem with it. Like you do. But he
he shouldn't need to be pleading the fifth on anything, Mr. St.John.
Right.
If he did a legitimate homicide investigation on the case, he shouldn't be pleading. Now, he has a constitutional right to plead the fifth, just like all of us.
We could argue it this way, too. If Darlie was so innocent and had the best lawyer in Texas at the time, he shouldn't need to be accusing the lead detective of a crime on what's he trying to do here?
I know, but it was right after that Detective Patterson started pleading the fifth. The sum wasn't quite right.
That mindset that you have about it, it's not wrong, but that's what they paid for when they got Doug Mulder.
Well, and taxpayers also pay for homicide detectives to do their job and to present evidence to show guilt, not to be pleading the fifth amendment.
Good. I like that you said that. So let's say that recording device and that video device caught somebody saying, "I'm sorry I did this." Was Jimmy Patterson doing his job then? Because he caught it.
Not if it was illegal.
But it wasn't illegal. It never was illegal.
Well, then what did he plead the fifth for?
Because they weren't sure.
They weren't sure. Well, he should have known that before he put a fucking microphone over there, don't you think?
The only reason he wasn't sure is because he had a top criminal defense attorney accusing of that crime in open court. He wasn't sure. What's this guy got that maybe I don't know? Let me talk to my lawyer about this. That's all he asked. He was accused of a crime. He wanted to talk to his lawyer, but he can't say, "Well, I knew it." He was probably right in the first place anyway, because he asked Rest Haven, and Rest Haven owns the property.
Okay, well, and here's what I would have to say to that. If I had been the judge, which I don't have a law degree, I've never been an attorney, nothing like that. But if I had been the judge on that case and he wanted to plead the fifth, I would say that's your legal right to do so. But if you're going to plead the fifth, we're going to throw this case out. And those 2 New York City homicide detectives that looked over Darlie's case said the same exact thing.
Sure they did.
They were veteran homicide detectives.
Right. Well, so let's go back and look at that clip. I'm not going to do it right now, but I'll walk you through it. They're sitting down with this other detective, and he says, Well, you know that the two lead detectives in that case pled the fifth, right? He never said why. And then it switches over to the black guy. I forget his name. He says, in all my years of being a private detective, I've never seen a lead detective plead the fifth in a case.
That's right. That's what he said. You're
right. So, in all your years as a lead detective, you went into court. Have you ever seen the defense attorney accuse the lead detective of a federal crime in open court? They didn't tell them that.
Not to my knowledge, no.
And those guys didn't go through the transcripts.
But they're not the ones that pled the fifth either.
No, well, they didn't. Those two guys on that show didn't go through the transcripts, or they would have known that he's only pleading the fifth on the surveillance.
I understand that, and you're right about that. But it's, again, lead homicide detectives, in my opinion, shouldn't have to even consider on pleading the fifth. And evidently, if they're bugging cemeteries and coffins and shit like that, they didn't have a pot to piss in. I mean, if they had evidence that Darlie had did this, they wouldn't have needed to do that.
Well, their goal in any investigation is to gather as much evidence as you possibly can get.
Well, of course.
So that's what they were trying to do. Now, Jamie says, I have a problem. They had a recorder at the graveyard, but Parker didn't. Yes, I agree. I agree with her on that.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Mr. Sage. I can't prove this. I want to make sure your audience knows this. This is speculation. I think they did record it, and they never released the recordings because it didn't have shit on it that they wanted to have on it. I think they thought if they start putting a squeeze on Darlie that she'd confess. I believe that they believe that. And that's why they had Parker come in there and do that particular part of the interrogation. So, they figured they could, they get a confession. Well, that's a home run, and that wasn't the case at all. And Bathsheba's exactly right about Mark Furman. You know what? And
I think they were accusing him of an ethical crime.
I don't recall what that was about, but I do
know
remember
why he did it. But she said that to me before.
But anyway, what were we even talking about? I got my phones going off every second. I need to take.
People were trying to have you. That's why I don't have my YouTube on. We were talking about Patterson somewhere along the line.
Well, I don't have my YouTube on, but my phone's on.
We were talking about the pleading of the fifth.
Yeah.
And now if Doug Mulder would have set him on the stand and said, so tell me what time you got at 5801 Eagle Drive that night, and he said, I take the fifth. Now you got a problem. Doug Mulder wasn't allowed to ask any more questions about the recording until.
But see, I think it gives the indication. And it would, to me, if I was a juror, it would give me the indication you got lead homicide detective, please. Something isn't right here. Something ain't gelling here with me. Something.
You got to remember, they were sitting in the same room when Doug Mulder said, "You're going to go to jail for this." So they knew why he was doing it. They didn't realize that Doug Mulder was putting on a show. He wanted to plant this seed of this cop's got to be shady. And it's worked up until now. I mean, you still feel that.
Oh, I'm not the only one.
But the only one, I mean, like I'm saying, it was only on the surveillance.
But that shouldn't have happened, in my opinion.
Okay,
that just clearly shouldn't have happened.
Right. I'll leave it at this. If he was so sure that she was innocent, he shouldn't be accusing the lead detectives of a crime. Right?
He was also a criminal defense attorney, and they play cards like that, Brian, just like the prosecution does.
Sure, that's why they're trying to. The goal of Darlie's appellate attorneys at this point is to keep her alive. That's their job, to keep her alive as long as they possibly can. Yeah,
but are you referring to Cooper?
Cooper. I'm not talking about the ones of the Innocence Project, but they don't.
I'm not very impressed with that guy. I'm sorry, I never have been. So, and I mean no disrespect to anybody, but I don't think he's done Darlie shit, to be honest with you.
I tell you, if he could have got the trial overturned because of the transcript fiasco, which he was dead on trying to get that done.
Oh, Darlie should have got a retrial because of that.
Luckily, there was audio. There was audio.
Right, Mr. St. John, some of those audios just got up and disappeared like a fart in the wind.
Okay, how many people that sat on the stand for either side has come out in 30 years and said, that's not what I said? Even the people on the innocent side. None.
To my knowledge, none.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not what
Okay,
I said.
but they still did. Where'd they go?
Pam just pops in and says, why don't they release the video now? She's talking about I assume she's talking about the solemn, peaceful, falling down mourning. I think she's talking about that. If she's not, she'll tell me.
Is that Pam Collins?
Yeah, she just popped in.
That's good. Hi, Pam. I haven't talked to Pam for quite some time, but Pam's always been very nice to me, and
she's a sweetheart.
Oh no, I was telling Brian, I said, Father's Day, Christmas, Easter, you're the first one I get a message from stating that stuff to. And that's definitely appreciated. And there's been times in the past, where I asked if I could call Pam because I needed some information. She was more than happy to help with documentations and or pictures or whatever it is I was requesting. So Pam has been helpful to me in the past. She really has.
Because she says saying now, she wants to know why they don't release the video of the solemn prayer service where Darlie was falling out and uncontrollable and hysterical. Why don't they release that for us now?
Oh, you're talking about of the service prior to the silly story? I don't know.
I mean, if that really,
I could ask Darlie Key if you guys want me to, but I don't know.
But in my opinion, it's for the same reason that Doug Mulder didn't want to introduce it and be speaking about it in court when Greg Parks said, "Oh, go ahead, put it in," and Doug Mulder said, "No."
I don't even know that he said that.
Well, we know he didn't put it in, and we know that it was in the transcripts.
Okay, well, yeah, no, I know it wasn't put in. I mean, I know that wasn't played. I mean, they played the silly string. The jury played it back half a dozen or better times.
Right. So
I kind of like what Darren said on the Lisa Gibbons show. Well, they were smart enough to at least know how to hit rewind.
Well, another thing Darren said on the Lisa Gibbons show is he agreed that the knife was so strong that it went through one of the bodies into the carpet.
That's right. That's right.
So Darren's not all that. He tried to sell that.
I know what you're saying, but yeah.
Of course he's going to be mad at. Of course he's going to be mad at the jurors.
Of course.
But if Darlie Key or the family has this thing of Darlie just falling out, and they've got this 30-second video of that would kill the whole silly string thing. Don't you think? You can say, look, no, she was cried out. That's why.
I know Darlie Key and Darlie had talked prior to the visitors showing up. Darlie Key had told Darlie, we got to try to hold it together here because children are here. Let's not, try to get too upset around them. And I think a thing that helped a lot was the people that Darlie cared about was also around her. Both of her sisters, Basha Javel, for example.
Yeah.
And that stuff helps, Brian, under circumstances like that.
Jamie gave me a correction. She said the jury didn't even know he pled the fifth. They were out. I think I said the jury saw it. They knew they didn't see it, but they knew he pled the fifth because I spoke to Irina Way about it. So they didn't actually see him do it. But she is right. The jury was out when that all happened, which doesn't make any sense because he was asking him questions beforehand. Matter of fact, I'm going to double check that because he was asking questions about the case for about 45 minutes before he jumped in. I don't know if the jury was out or not.
I think it was, Brandon.
I think they were. I know that the jury was also out when Helena Kazeva was on the stand talking about Drake being swaddled in the blanket so hard. The jury didn't get to hear that, and a lot of people say that the judge was unfair and all that.
Well, no, I think the judge was fair on that aspect because that's hearsay.
Well, not if she saw it. It's not hearsay. She saw it.
Well, I mean, you could say I saw a man walking on the moon, or the moon's made of keys, but that doesn't mean that's what happened or what it
Right.
is.
All right, that's not hearsay. Is all I'm saying.
The
judge's ruling on it was
I'm corroborating that.
what the judge said was this incident has nothing to do with the actual crime. That's what the judge said. And then he
yeah, I can agree with that. They were trying to show intent on Darlie's part, and I just don't think that there was evidence supporting that happened. I mean, they were going off the word of what Helena said. That was all.
Yeah, the intent was in the staging that they saw. That's where they see intent. That's the only way to prove any type of intent.
We should talk about staging, Brian, because I don't think there's any evidence of staging. If there was evidence, if Darlie had set a stage, why didn't she use the stage?
She didn't have to use it. It spoke for itself. She knows she knows that the police are going to come in and see the cut screen. She knows that they're going to see the table flipped over.
Well, they didn't, because they said the screen was cut from the inside and it was cut from the outside.
No, we don't know that. It's not been defined. It's not been defined. It hasn't.
But they admitted to that.
No, it's not been defined at all in court. There's no admit. They admitted to the matter of fact, Pam is here. They admitted to the hair, but as far as I went back and looked at the screen cut from the outside, it wasn't definitive. It could have been, but they never said yes.
Okay, well, coulda, shoulda, woulda. They still said at the beginning, which in part got her indicted, that screen was cut from the inside.
Well, yeah,
but they certainly didn't say that there was a possibility that it was cut from the outside.
I think they just said it was cut.
They said it was cut from the inside.
Yeah, I don't remember the arrest warrant. The arrest warrant.
Well, the hair was the other one. I know it was the hair. Definitely the hair.
Let me see here. Yeah, I don't think that's on the arrest warrant, but I could be wrong. It's not giving it to me right now. I'll talk about it on another. I don't want to.
Brian, we can do this again. I think this is very successful.
Yeah,
it's important. And important.
Okay. Yeah, it is. It is real important, and I hope that we all can get along. I try to clear up some of the things that's been said about me. If I'm spending my time defending myself, then I'm not talking about the case, and that's what a lot of people want.
Well, Brian, you know some of the circumstances I have recently gone through with some other people, and some of it. But
that same person told everybody that the reason that we moved from my mobile home that I own is because me and my wife were in there smoking pot. They kicked us out. First of all, we own that. Second of all, pot's illegal in Ohio. And third of all, I got a nice trailer I want to sell you. I'm trying to sell it. But that's one of the things that went around. Sully just said that I'm just harassing her out the ass when I never have. She sent me a message.
Look at what she says about me.
Well, she sent me a message one time and said, I'm going to publicly embarrass you. And then Bathsheba just left a message in here. She said, that last video you did on Sully was horrible. And it was. Yeah, it was meant to be horrible. It was meant to be horrible. And all I can say about that on Sully's part is fuck Sully. I don't think she's here to benefit anybody but herself. She doesn't care about Darlie. She doesn't care about Devin and Damon. She cares about getting a name for Sully. She didn't make it in the medical field. She didn't make it in the funeral homes. She's not making it anywhere. She didn't make it in Texas Tech. She didn't make it, and she's not going to make it in Darlie's support. And if you guys ain't never listened to anything I've had to say, I'm telling you, she's hurting your cause. She's going to hurt your cause. And when she does, because you left her around, I'm going to laugh my ass off. I'm going to laugh my ass off, period.
Well,
that 911, they did a recreation of the 911 call, and it was disgusting.
Wait, who did that?
Sully and her mother. It's on Kitchen Table Research podcast. I've got a video.
I don't watch that.
Yeah, I've got a video of it. You must have missed it.
Maybe I did.
She's trying to pretend like she's Darlie. She's going, oh my God, you don't do that, man. Come on.
Oh, they did like a recreation?
Yeah, and it was ridiculous.
Oh, Christ.
But I just feel like
I could never do something like Brian, I hate that 911 tape because I can envision what's going on. There's two children lying on the floor. One's dying, one's on the way out. And I can see Darlie with her injuries, and you can just hear the chaos and hear the death in that call. And I hate doing the 911 call. I've done podcasts on it, but I just hate it. Most of us supporters do hate it because we could feel the pain coming out of it.
Jamie asked,
So
why? Still would like to know why Patterson said there was one on the ground. Well, you have to take that into context.
He did say that. He did say that.
What was said before that? What did he say before that, Jamie? Are we talking about one on the ground? Could be an officer on the ground searching the neighborhood. Could be an officer.
Say that. He said that he had heard it through dispatch that they had one on the ground, which typically meant they were chasing somebody on foot. Or he said.
Or they stopped a car with 4 teenagers in it because it came around the scene while they were there. One on the ground.
Well,
I've got one stopped.
I don't. There's no evidence indicating that's what that meant. I would think he would have said that.
There's absolutely no evidence that they were chasing anybody either.
But it went over dispatch that they were.
I think it's taken out of context. Maybe they thought they saw something that they didn't see, but it was apparent that they were looking for one on the ground. They wouldn't even have made that statement if they thought it was Darlie right off the rip.
Sure. I mean, yeah, they go in there. I mean, Darlie said somebody come in there and ran out through the garage. Of course, they're going to check that out. That's just common law enforcement.
Do you think he could mean that there's one, maybe somebody called in because there's flashlights are going back behind their house and it's a police officer, and Jimmy said there's one on the ground?
I don't know, Brett. My daughter's a police officer. I mean, I don't know my oldest daughter. I wish I could talk with her more, because I would love some information on her opinion. I would love for her to come on here.
See, as well as I know you, Rich,
but
and me and you are such good buddies, and I know you so well. I never knew you had a police officer in you.
I still don't even know where that comes from, Brian.
It comes from an idiot. It comes from a jackass.
Well, I'm not going to say that it doesn't.
I'll say it.
I mean, there was years that we didn't talk, and then we did texting randomly from time to time if we had a question for one another or something. And then recently, we've been talking on the phone quite a bit since we've had this event coming up, because we were coming up with ground rules and how we were going to do things, and certain various things. And the only thing that I was really concerned about on the case, I just didn't want to see anybody in Darlie's family be insulted. They are friends of mine. I respect them. I think they respect me. And I don't.
Outside of the things they say and outside of this case that they do, these are good people. I know they're good people. I wouldn't want to be in a position, and I'm not in a position where I think if I thought my son was innocent, I'd be doing the same thing that they are doing. But I don't.
I admire that on your behalf, but I don't really like bringing that stuff up to you, because I know it's not easy.
Doesn't bother me anymore, Rich, because I'm not the one that did that.
I understand that, but I just still don't feel as though that's appropriate.
Right. Well, this is a little bit where when the support of Darlie is non-support of Darlie is coming from me. This is where I have a little insight on how it feels to have someone in your family that's convicted for something like this. I know how it feels, but I don't know how it feels to have somebody that I think is innocent and is on death row. I don't know how that feels.
Well, and you know what, Brian, I would have to think you would be a serious fighter if your son had been innocent of this crime and he was found guilty. I'm sure you'd be fighting your ass off on it.
I thought he was guilty right off the rip. I mean,
I know that, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I believe that if you felt as though your son didn't commit that crime, that you'd be fighting like hell. I really believe you'd do that.
I went and looked at some things in the courts. I got some files. I was all adamant about showing that he was innocent, and then files were telling me he wasn't innocent. So I quit doing that shit. I'm not going to, he's the one that did what he did. He's lucky he's not facing the death penalty. That's one of the first questions I asked the detectives. Is this death penalty? It could be, but no, they don't think he had this. It's not like a shooting or stabbing is what I was told.
Well, down here in Texas, it probably would have been.
Oh, they don't care.
Yeah.
Down in Texas is it's hard to. I don't mess around in Texas. I thought, some people know I like to smoke weed. I know that down there, if they catch you with that shit, you're in trouble.
So, you're going to jail. You're going to jail.
I was paranoid. I was paranoid, but I had it with me. But I was paranoid.
Especially with out-of-state plates, you're reaching, Mr. St. John.
Yeah, you see, I told you I didn't want that. It honed in. The truck had New Mexico plates on top of it.
Yeah. Oh God. Well, yeah. They kind of watch for that out of plate shit. But you got to remember, in Texas, they got a lot of problems with drug trafficking, human trafficking, things of that nature here. And so they really watch that stuff real close. So when they see a plate that's out of state, they hone in on it and check it out. They might follow it, or they might run the plate.
When we pulled up to the gravesite, I didn't even notice, but I parked almost exactly where Darlie parked at. I wasn't trying to do that. I mean, I just wanted. That just seems like the most logical spot. But
yeah, you're talking about the Pathfinder.
Yeah, that's one thing about the trip that was pleasant was that big ass truck. I went and looked it up to see how much one of those cost. That one was $71,000.
Yeah, that was a nice truck, Brian.
We lucked out. We lucked out because I was supposed to get a Nissan Rogue, and when we got there, they didn't have it available. And I said, "Well, you have to give me something." And they tried to give me this car. I said, "No, I need something for the space." And they said, "Well, all we got is this Yukon over here. It's luxury, it's under luxury, but we'll give it to you."
I didn't know you brought the fam down with you. I know you had a guy with you. I'm not trying to get up in your business, but
my brother
I didn't know you brought your family down.
No, that was my sister and my niece.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I remember you telling me something about that.
They're taking over my dad's estate, and when he gets out of the hospital, she's going to be his caregiver. They wouldn't let him out of the hospital for that, so we had to uproot her and get her down there and do a little bit of repair on the house. And now they're waiting on all his medical equipment, but he's got the caregiver. She's dedicating the rest of herself to caregiving for Dad, and in response to that, she's going to get what he's leaving. She gets all of it, which is fine. And that brings me back to Bruce. That brings me to Bruce Davis and Greg Davis. You remember when Bruce Davis was around in the groups? Were you around when his brother was around?
I'm not certain, but I do know of the situation.
Yeah, so Bruce Davis was cut out of the inheritance. That's why he came on for like a year and a half. He was all gung-ho, Darlie's innocent, Darlie's innocent. But then when he got it out of his system, he disappeared. He was friends with everybody, Darlie Key and all of them. But that's neither here nor there.
Well, if I may, Mr. St. John, here's another here nor there, in my opinion. Not only did Darlie's family believe that Darlie was innocent, but even Darlie's in-laws believed that she was innocent. And we're talking about Cyrilda and Lenny Retier and Darren's siblings. Now, that's kind of something when you have your in-laws saying, look, there's no way she could have done such a thing.
I would agree. But now let's look at it this way. If there was a family member that didn't think she was innocent, do you think they'd speak out about it? We went through this in my family.
Yeah, I know, but I haven't.
No,
not a murder anyway.
We had people that my ex-wife will tell you today that my son is innocent, and she could have seen him do it and tell you that he's innocent. I've had that, and that's what I mean. We have some people in our family, they ain't gonna say, well, a kid's a baby killer, but they're thinking it. We know that.
Remember when you had that full trial up on your Facebook at one time? I watched that whole thing, and I couldn't even hardly stand to watch it, especially when they were showing pictures of that poor baby. Well, that's so horrible.
I was supposed to be on the stand, and the courtroom theatrics of that is when they pulled me in for deposition, I was on the whole my son is innocent thing. And I said, you're going to have to prove it to me. I said, 'cause I know that this, blah, blah, blah. And the lead detective rolled her eyes at me. I said, see? I said, you're going to have to prove it to me. I said, if you put me on that stand, I'm going to cause a mistrial. Period. So they didn't put me on the stand. But I didn't want them to be a prosecution's witness against my son. I didn't want to do that. And so
You testified, Brian. I seem to recall reading your testimony.
No, I didn't testify.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaken then.
No, my sons did. And I got, my son Chance and Zach, they testified.
Yeah, maybe that's what I saw. Maybe that's what I saw.
They wanted to know why he came directly to my house after he did what he did. And I can't answer that question. That's what they wanted to know. And I can't answer, but I didn't let him sit there. There is a video of him out there where I'm talking to Luke. Luke's off talking to one of the detectives. They're looking for him. And I'm talking to him. This is like 5 minutes after everything happened. He just woke me up. And so I recorded it. That's my first instinct, was to record this. Right? As soon as he said something happened to Braden, I knew it was bad. But at the end of that, when he hangs up with the detective, I said, be sure to turn your GPS off. Boy, they gave me so much shit for that. Like, you're trying to protect him. No, well, I was at first, because I didn't know anything. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to talk to my son before I turned him over to anybody else, which I did turn him over later. So I can imagine what Darlie Key and the rest of her family go through with this every day. I know that they don't have a single day where they don't think about Darlie or Devin or Damon. Darlie's more so because they can save her life. I wouldn't want to be in a position where I knew he was innocent, but nobody believed me, type of thing. You know what I mean? I wouldn't be. That's where they live. They either they know that she did it and they're trying to cover for her, or they know she's innocent and nobody believes them. One or the other.
Well, I don't know of anybody of who I know of the family that think that they're just trying to protect her. They really believe that she didn't do it and she's totally innocent.
Do you think that they wouldn't want to see her die no matter what? I'm just asking.
You would have to ask them, Mr. St. John. I don't talk with them about that because that's a subject to them that's very sensitive, which I'm sure you could understand that. And I don't want to talk shit like that with them. I mean, that's awful. And I mean, Brian, I was pro death penalty for decades until this case. This case turned me on that. And I'm totally against the death penalty.
Pam,
you're not going to bring anybody back by killing somebody else. And all you're doing is making more victims.
Pam has left this comment about the one on the ground. Maybe they were talking about an intruder allegedly running from the home, according to Darlie. He went out the garage.
Pam might be right. It could have been, it's just the heat of the moment. But also the only point that I was making is that Patterson did say that. And I find that to be curious. Why did he say that? What was the reason? And it could be just like what Pam just said. It very easily could have been something like that. It could have, because we already know that Waddell went from the room into the kitchen. He was, going out toward the garage because he thought somebody might be out there. So that's very easily how that could have come through that way. I'm just saying that Patterson did say that. That's what I'm saying. And Brian, I got to take another restroom break.
Okay, I'll respond to the chat a little bit.
All right.
Susie Cusey says the roommates in the co-worker case didn't hear them scream. That's a good point. We can't explain that. The case that Kathy and Jamie and Sully and myself were discussing, the Voluska axe murder case back in early 1900, I believe. There were people just beaten to death in there, and the people didn't hear that either. I can tell you, Jamie, that I was under a fake name, and you and I had some great conversations about that Voluska case, and we could continue to have those types of conversations. See, because if that wouldn't have said Tracy Severs on it, my profile and it said BryanSt.John, you wouldn't give me the time of day. Yeah, where is that axe murder? You wouldn't have gave me the time of the day, Jamie. And it's really not fair because I'm just a guy who has a different opinion. And my different opinion is not popular to supporters. So, their supporters out there would do anything to see me get put in jail or see me something happen bad. And I'm not that person. I've been accused of this stuff for so long, it's ridiculous.
Well, I think, if I may interrupt you, Mr. St. John, now you do get pretty rough and loud and vulgar sometimes. In real life, I do too. I'll be honest with you. I don't do that on podcasts. But let me also say, I got a little taste of your medicine, not from you, but from some others fairly recently, where I could understand how you could get really mad and pissed off. But on the other hand, the thing that makes it a little bit different is I wasn't out publicly ripping people into a million pieces with lies.
As far as what you've seen here recently with Sully over the last year or so, even some of my subs are like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "This woman just fucking pisses me off because she's lying on me." So here's the thing: if you come at me and you're saying, "Oh, look at this guy, look at this hiding in the closet," put up my son's case just to piss me off. Okay, so if you put that up just to piss me off, and then you piss me off, then what are you mad about? You got what you wanted. You have pissed me off. I don't care that you put up my son's case. Matter of fact, I can lead people to the misery machine. It's called Shattered. Type in the name Braden Ferguson, and that whole case comes up, and they did it very well.
I watched that the other night, Brian. You sent that to me. I watched it. Yeah.
They did a good job on it because they presented.
Yeah, they did. They did.
There wasn't nothing they got wrong. Nothing. Not a thing. And that doesn't bother me. As a matter of fact, I like the video because it speaks about Braden more and CPS and how they fail. So just doing a video of my son or talking about it, that's not going to bother me. But when your point is, "Oh, you pissed me off, I'm a Darlie supporter, what about your son?" That's no. Even Donnell said, "Well, his son killed somebody, so who is he to even talk on this?" My son was convicted just like your sister.
And I see that Becky Boo, which I've read many of her comments over time. Pretty interesting lady there. She's been around for the longest, yeah. Yeah, she says some pretty nasty things sometimes, but
I haven't seen her do it. I haven't seen her.
Well, and if I'm mistaken, I apologize. Sure, but I seem to recall her being one of them. She's saying, somebody navigate through the grass. This is one of my complaints, Becky Boo, that whoever had come into the house had to know how to navigate. We were talking about it earlier in here. They had to know how to navigate the neighborhood, the house, to get in and out so quietly, so on and so forth. But you got to remember, there was obstacles. Yes, I'm not going to disagree with you, but there was a pretty clear path that went from the window directly to the door to the utility room from the garage. Anybody could have made that path pretty easily, especially if you know what's going to be there and what's not going to be there.
So, in your opinion, it was somebody that was sent there to target Darlie that knew the house, right? I don't see why they would pick that garage window if they knew.
Unless they knew it was open.
Well, that would be on Dana.
Well, and you know what? I have I brought that up before, and I got accused of blaming Dana for this horror, which I've never done that, Brian. I've never done that.
No.
And I know Dana had nothing to do with it. And this case has been extremely devastating to her. I've had the privilege of meeting Dana. I've met Dana and talked with her briefly.
I've talked to her before, not about the case.
Well, we met. I actually met her. We talked face to face for about a minute or two. As a matter of fact, Donnell, I had went up to Dana at their family get together for something, and I went up to her and I said, Dana, I said, "Do you know who I am?" And she said no. And Danelle must have heard me talking, because Danelle come over and she said, "This is Rich, does podcasts on, Darlie's case, so on and so forth, and everything else." And I had, years ago, I had written Dana, because she doesn't like talking about the case. It's very hard for her. She doesn't like talking about the case. And
I talked to her
years ago, I had sent a message to Dana, and Dana had blocked me. And I kind of was throwing a joke at Dana, and I go, "You can unblock me from Facebook now that you know who I am." And I said, "Dana, I'm only kidding." She said, "Well, you got to remember, a lot of the people that surround this thing are very weird, and I really just don't really want to have a lot of discussion with them."
A lot of people think just true crimers in general are just weird,
Well, they have their right to their opinion, but no, Dana was very nice. She was there trying to help her family. I met Dana's children, and again, I mean, they were there to support and help the family and have a good time and enjoy what they were doing there, and they did enjoy it. So.
Let me ask you something. You're not prepared for this question, but I've asked it for you before. I'm gonna ask it while Pam's here. The video that you did with Pam, why did you take that down?
Well, it wasn't nothing against Pam. I don't recall. I think I had a discussion with Pam. Maybe I didn't. I'm not 100%. I felt as though I got bamboozled on there. And I was still pretty green on the case back in those days, and I certainly don't have the information like I have now.
Yeah.
And again, Brian, you recall, I'm the one that made the suggestion.
Yes.
To have you ask Pam to come on here, because I think she puts up the good fight, and
she is, her way of non-support is just amazing. How she does it without getting angry. Just she'll throw the facts in there and just walk away.
Well, she can get angry. She just doesn't. I've never seen her get angry either. But I talked with her about it, and that's why I wanted Annie Oakley to come on here with me, because she has the ability to do the same thing. And I always tell supporters, if you're having problems with non-supporters, get a hold of her, because I don't know how she does. See, I can't do it, Brian. I talked to her over the years.
I talked to her for about an hour on the phone the other day, and we had a good conversation. Her connection failed, and she was all for coming up here, which I would like to have her up. I had a couple questions for her, but I don't want to pick at her too much. But I did over last night. I did find posts with Kathy Ramsey's where she's flat out blaming Basha and Helena on this crime, blaming them. I'm going to do that later on. But I would
even Darlie Lynn herself said she would be extremely surprised if she were to find out that they had anything to do with it, and she doesn't believe it either.
No, there's no reason for why. If they hated them that bad, they just quit going over there, quit working.
Well,
but we have differing stories on the Glenn Mize situation too.
Yeah, I'll say, big difference in stories.
It's actually the other way around. She said that Basha said that Mize would come to the shop, Tesnique. I don't know why he's down there, but he would come to the shop, and when he did that, he would be flirty with her, and she didn't like it, so she told his wife. And the way we understand it is, Darlie stomped down to Glenn Mize's house, right, and caught Beja in there and was going on about the drugs. How did she tell you it happened? Tell me.
No, that's not where she was going on about. She might have, but that's not what she said.
Yeah,
when you told Basha some of the questions that you asked, you did get some of the questions wrong a little bit. Why you blowing me up like that, Brian? No, but no big deal. No big deal. Darlie told me that she had found a phone number in Darren's wallet, and and the phone number was connected to Basha Jabel, and she was just curious to know as to why it was hiding in her wallet. She said Darren was coming home acting really weird. Really weird meaning stoned, high on something, just act paranoid, weird. And anyway, she started digging around trying to figure out why this was going on because she wasn't enjoying it and she didn't like it. And when she found that phone number and started checking into it, she found out that that phone number had a connection to Basha Jabel. So she said she went over to Basha Jabel's house, you know, knocked on the girl, Basha, oh, hey, come on in, girlfriend, you know, that kind of thing, just trying to, Darlie was playing dumb at that point. And she smelled food and said, Basha, what are you cooking, you know? And then I guess Darlie was in there helping her cook and talking because she knew Darren was coming there. She knew Darren was going to be there with Basha's boyfriend or whoever. Oh, yeah, something. Okay, Danny. Now.
Friend or
anyway, they show up and Darlie drops the bomb once they're all there. She goes, I'm going to tell you guys something right now, and I'm going to quote Darlie. The next time I find out that Darren's by getting drugs from you people, I'm turning all your asses in. Now, when you talked to Basha about it, Brian, she didn't deny that story, but she says it went down a little bit different than what I just said that Darlie said happened. But Darlie didn't say anything to me about afterwards that Darlie had told Basha, let's go get drunk and shit. She never said anything like that to me. As a matter of fact, she said that to me and her face was getting red because evidently the whole situation still angers her 30 years later.
Did you hear that lady I was speaking to on Bond Street about the cases of wine? Darlie was ordering wine.
I don't remember it specifically, but I did watch that video. I might have fell asleep because I usually watch them as I'm going to sleep at night. I drive Bonnie crazy with them. But I was watching it, and sometimes I get all the way through them, and sometimes I don't. Just depends on how tired I am.
Well, like I said, Glenn, the whole thing is Basha told me that the reason that number was in the wallet was so he could reach Danny. They were trying to fix probably the boat radiator, something like that. And she said that's the reason why it was in there. But she did not say anything about Darlie cussing people out about drugs. Here's the thing. If she was so mad and Darren knew that she would go off about drugs, why would he just leave a Coke tray sitting there with razor blades on it and shit up in the middle?
Well, I mean, it's I don't know, Brian, but how come if Darlie knew about that Coke tray or pill tray, whatever the hell it was, if Darlie had known about it, wouldn't you think that she would have been a lot more concerned about getting that in the journal out of the house rather than the sex toys?
Do you recall the story of Darren's last birthday she had of freedom, where Darlie bought for Darren an 8-ball of cocaine? Have you heard that story?
I've heard the story, but I can't validate that happened.
I can't validate it either. It's one of the books.
I seriously doubt Darlie Lynn would do something like. I'm sorry. I mean, if I had evidence showing it did happen, that's different. Then I would accept it. But I can't see her doing that. Right? I'm sorry. I know. I've heard you say, Brian. Well, you know, inmate Darlie. You're right. That's who I do know. But let me say this: the way Darlie acts when I visit, and when she writes me letters, is almost to the tick of how her journal was prior to the murders until that last entry.
That journal reading is from up until May 3rd. It's good reading. Now the thing with buying an 8-ball of Coke for her birthday, I've bought Nicole ounces of weed for her birthday before because I know that's what she
I don't really give a shit if she did or didn't, but I don't think. I really believe that if Darlie, look, for an example, I had asked Darlie about the insurance scams. I said, Darlie, you said different things over the years. I'm asking you, did you know about the insurance scams? She said, yeah, I did. Yep. in light of stuff like that, I really believe that if Darlie was buying 8 balls of cocaine to take home to Darren for his birthday, I think she'd just say she did that. She told me about going to the strip club. She told me all about it. And she said
there's video. There's video of her.
I don't know about
There's
video. I've never seen a video. She admitted going. She admitted going. Well, come on. I mean, how many? I've been to more strip clubs than I can count over the years. I haven't gone for a long time.
It doesn't make her a bad person, but it also doesn't make her mommy of the year either.
I know many mothers and fathers that are good people that do that.
Sure. And then, the meat master was the one that she had come to the house with her little sisters and all that there. The meat master.
The meat master. I don't know anything about that, Brian. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't know anything about it.
No, they're young. I don't think that.
And it really wasn't the crux of our conversation, to be honest with you. But when she said that that strip club was absolutely disgusting to her, because she said that, and this is a little bit overly descriptive here, but she said that, them women in there were sticking their tongues down them dancers' throat, and she said it was straight up disgusting.
But they went there
when it come time to her to participate with that, she was ready to go home because she said she wouldn't do it. She said it was so disgusting.
They went there more than once, though.
Perhaps.
I know they did.
I'm just telling you what she said.
Well, it wasn't like I was with them. But if it was so disgusting, why would you go back?
Well, how do we know they didn't go to a different place?
Because,
the size of Dallas.
Greg Davis kept bringing up LeBaire, and I looked it up. I saw the building. Maybe it was disgusting to her, but either way, it doesn't make her a bad person for going to see that. Women are twice as horny as men ever could be. They just don't express it the way we do. So male stripper doesn't mean anything to me, but it also doesn't mean you're PTA mom. There's another thing going on that she was a PTA mother. Yeah, but how come Devin and Damon's teachers, neither one of them testified for her? Or Devin's teacher?
I don't know, Brian. She was signed up for the PTA, but no, I don't know why they didn't testify. I have no clue.
She was supposed to be a room mother for Devin's class. That's what they used to spread around, but that's not true.
Listen, I really believe that Darlie was good to children. I believe she was very good to her children. I mean, Devin, Damon, and Drake had the best of the best of clothes, nutrition. Again, oftentimes there's something that leads up. Now, we found, hypothetically, there were cigarette burns on those boys, or they were malnourished. They had clothes that were soiled on, or they weren't properly washed, bad dental hygiene. Then we got something else to start talking about and start.
There's absolutely no signs of it.
This was not the case here.
There's no signs of abuse prior to these murders, but like I said, we see it, the elevation, and the things. She had the damn car wouldn't run. She had to stay at home. The boys messed up the steam house that night. They got the $5,000 loan. The possibility of
they didn't get a $5,000 loan.
Yeah, that's why she was mad.
That loan wasn't for them.
I know. No, they were trying to get that $5,000 loan, right?
Not for them.
Some people say it was for Dana, a truck.
What? Yeah, the family has told me that.
All right, and other people have said that it was for the vacation to go to Altoona. But either way, they didn't get it. That's the thing. Either way, they didn't get it.
No, Darlie Key told me that they were trying to get Dana a truck, and they were trying to get a loan for it, and then Dana was going to pay him back from working at Tesnique.
Right. Well,
and
if Darlie's already ticked off about money, and then Darren says, "Hey, I want to loan her, put my cosign. I want to help her get this $5,000 car." Is that gonna drive it in a little more?
I mean, well, you can also say that about Basha Jabel. I mean, Darlie let her borrow money, and she said that she had paid it back. Darlie, from what I understand, used to give Basha her credit card. Here, go get what you need. And Basha did testify to the effect that she paid her back. But see, that's not the point. The point is that was the kind of person Darlie was. She also paid Karen Neal, Terry Neal's, their mortgage on occasion when they were having.
We know that I've heard that story. I didn't hear it from Karen or Terry Neal.
Well, I didn't either, but
the thing I wouldn't, but the thing of that is that wasn't Darlie's money she was spending.
Well, okay. I mean, they
they
were united in holy matrimony. You know how it goes, Brian. I mean, I've been married 3 times. I think you've been married a few times. You know how it all works.
Can you see them bickering about that, though? Now, that's something that was said. That was said that she did pay their mortgage once, right?
Yeah.
And that might be why Karen Neal's on TV going, I don't care what they say. She's innocent. No, she's a good mother. I'd have her watch my kids, but she's over there letting her daughter Renee Stanley and Allison and all them, giving them kids alcohol, marijuana, and Karen trusts her daughter over there.
Well, she did. Yeah, she didn't deny giving them kids Zimas. I talked to her about it.
Right.
She didn't deny that when I asked her, but I know that one girl. I don't remember if it was Allison or the other one. I want to say it was Glenn Mize' stepdaughter. That one had testified to the effect that she didn't really like Darlie that much. Okay, well, she didn't have to. What the hell is she going down there then for?
Went down there with her friends.
Okay. I hated her that much, especially a teenage girl.
Right.
They're going to stay away from that if they don't like somebody or they feel threatened by them, perhaps.
Janelle came on your show and she said, well, I'll tell you the truth, the boys really didn't like Basham that much. Right? And I told Basha this was said. And she kind of put her head down. And she shook her head. And I'm thinking to myself, well, if you knew that your boys didn't like Basha so much, why would you let her be so involved in their life if they don't like them?
Well, I'm not sure how we can prove that how heavily involved she was in their life, Mr. St. John.
On the day of the silly string video,
right?
Whose child did Beja have? Whose child was Beja tending to?
She had Drake.
Right. So if she knew that Devin and Damon didn't like her, why would she want him there? Why?
Well, but I could also turn that around and state, well, Darlie and Darren love Basha. Darlie told me that she was considered family, which she said clearly in the end that was a mistake. But she told me she was considered as family. Darlie loved Basha. And of course, soon after that point, after the silly story, it started going under pretty quick after that. Or maybe a little bit before that. I wasn't there. I don't know. But something.
Well, when did they have? Because it's long been said that Darlie and Basha had this huge falling out. I'd like to know, was it right after?
I mean, they couldn't have had that big of a falling out prior to the silly string episode. Because, well, I mean, Basha is right there singing happy birthday right with all the rest of them. She couldn't. I wouldn't even be caught within 10 miles of that place if I thought Darlie had committed that murder. Now I realize that she did love those boys, which I believe, and I can also understand the aspect she was there at the festivity because she loved those boys.
One thing Basha has never said is, "I knew right off the bat Darlie did this." So maybe at that point, she was thinking Darlie did it. She wasn't sure. Maybe she felt like she loved the boys so much she wanted to be there for Drake. But maybe I didn't ask her when she started.
If I had a female friend, this is me now, because even with me, I wouldn't have done that silly string because I wouldn't have been able to mourn that way. Now I'm being honest with you, Brian. I couldn't have done that.
Basha told me she told Darlie not to do that, and she said, "No, they would love this. They would love this." So
they might have, but I wouldn't have been able to do that. I couldn't have been able to do that.
She expressed that she didn't like it at first, And then she sure is singing. You're right. But as soon as that silly string landed over on Drake's foot, she got it off of him, and then she's snatching him up to walk away. And then she said, Darlie called me back. She said, Darlie called me back. So she did get up. She did. You can see it. She didn't want that silly string on him. And she
silly string stains, Mr. St. John.
She's thinking about that baby. She didn't want it on him.
I'm just saying that stuff stains. She very easily could have been taken off so it didn't stain his clothes.
Right. Isn't that good intuition? That she can get it off of him and move away? She didn't like it, is what she was telling me.
Well, she didn't have to like it, but she also didn't have to be there if she didn't like it.
Right. Well, she was also told that she expressed that she didn't want to be there, but her mother was there first, and that Darlie said that she needed to be there. She's still on the clock. She's still on the payroll. She needed her to be there. That's what Boston said. So, give or take what that is.
I'm sorry. If I thought Darlie had done that at that time, you wouldn't have caught me dead there.
I think that she said her last conversation with Mama Darlie, with that Mama Darlie asked her, Basha, what would you do? And she said, well, I'd kill him and kill myself. And then
Basha Jabel said she'd kill the bitch and then kill herself. She said that's what she told Darlie Key. I asked Darlie Key about that. And Darlie Key said that's a lie. That never happened.
I understand that.
Never happened.
I understand that. But there was an issue when I left support. I was like, I was telling people, I know these people. I used to talk to them, blah, blah. Darlie Key denied ever talking to me, ever knowing me, and I had her phone number. She
okay,
I know you don't want to.
Well, she's not here to defend herself, and right. Quite honestly, I'm not very familiar to all that stuff that happened back in those days between you and her. What I will say is Darlie Key, she don't play. She don't play at all. And she has no shame. Nope. You piss her off.
Nope.
She's coming at you.
Danelle told me one time, you do not want me to turn into my mother on you. I was like, no, I really don't.
But on the other hand, let me say this. I've had many pleasant, kind conversations with her that I've really endured and have really liked. And I love talking to her. She's awesome to talk to, but maybe not so awesome when mad. Let me tell you. No, I've always said I'm glad we're on the same side because I wouldn't want to have to battle that.
There's a picture of Mama Darlie and Barb Davis standing right there beside the boys' graves, and she just looks like Barb Davis looks like she's scared shitless. And Mama Darlie looks like she's ready to just bite her face off. I don't know how that she could bounce back to want to hold hands with Barb Davis if she ever read that book. And Mama Darlie's read that book.
Well,
I mean, it had more.
You also got to remember that Barb Davis also admitted that she was wrong, and she did it on a public forum.
Yeah.
And that she had apologized, and that any further monies that she made from that book would get donated to Darlie Lynn. And to my understanding, it has been.
I wonder how much they got. But anyway,
I couldn't tell you, Brian. Couldn't tell you.
Every page of that book shows Darlie's guilt. Every single page. There's not a page on there.
But how much of it is it proof? In other words, how much of that information can be proven? Or is it just speculation?
Well, Barb Davis didn't say, I lied. She said she got the evidence wrong. And Barb Davis writes in Precious Angels that the night of the murders that Darlie and Darren slipped out to the steam house and swam around a little while. And when they came back in and they laid down on the couch, they had sex. And then Darren went upstairs. Now, I've
never heard. I didn't read that book, Brian, to be honest with you. But I don't believe that.
How would Barb Davis know that?
Yeah, no shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can take that with a grain of salt. I'm throwing that back as a bone to you guys. But the rest of the book is very damning to her. Now, Dateline Purgatory. That's the book that the supporters like to refer to, the Kathy Cruz book. There's stuff in there that's wrong. So
Well, have you read that book, Mr. St. John?
I haven't read it. No.
You really need to read it and make sure. Yeah, there's good stuff in there.
Experts of it. I've seen. That's why I know stuff's wrong. Seen experts of it. So we can't go on the media. You know, the media in my son's story, they said that once they found out that they took Braden to the hospital, once they found out that Braden wasn't going to make it, then my son ran from the hospital. He wasn't even at the hospital. So I know that the media gets it wrong. I know they get it wrong.
Yeah, I'll say, especially in Darlie's case.
What do you think about The Last Defense?
I liked it. I think it was a good documentary. I don't think it's the best one out of all of them, but I think it's one of the top three. But you know, I can only get like cut and edited versions of that. I have never truly seen the entire episode of that.
You get
like the part where they're interviewing Darren on that affidavit. I can't get that part.
You know, they got to be mad at Darren over what he said. He made it perfectly clear. He said, this lawyer put this piece of paper in front of me and I signed it. I did it for Darlie. That's his way of saying that this affidavit that I'm signing about multiple people in my house is bullshit. He said, I did it for Darlie. They put it in front of me and I signed it. He didn't say I read it. He didn't say I wrote it out. He didn't say I came to the lawyer and told him this stuff. He said the lawyer.
Typically, an attorney or law enforcement are the ones that type those types of affidavits out based on what somebody tells them. And that was also a sworn affidavit that he signed. So if he had lied on that, he's subjected to the possibility of prosecution for lying on a sworn affidavit, which is a felony fraud.
You're absolutely right. So the things that were written in that were written in such a way that you could never.
It's very vague, Brian. Very vague.
You could never prove he was lying. Prove he didn't ask multiple people. Prove it.
Exactly.
So they wrote it up in such a way that it would make Darren look shady, but not get him charged with the crime. You know, and just not enough to get Darren in trouble. Because if Darren would have said, I asked Tom, Dick, and Harry over here to rob my house, he wouldn't have been able to do that because he's bringing somebody else into it. Now he's got a problem. So for me, when I read that affidavit, and I'm thinking to myself how adamant and strong-willed that this family is to prove that she is innocent, why are they not knocking? Why are they not camped out in front of Darren's house going, you need to tell us who you talked to when you talked to him? Why are they not doing that?
I don't know that they haven't, to be honest with you. I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's a good question. And how do you know that Darren didn't tell them who was involved in something? Because I know some of the people he's implementing in that.
I go by the sworn affidavit. You know, if he could say it to the family, then he should be able to swear it on that affidavit, right?
I'm not going to disagree with that, but you know, you start doing that, now you start opening up a big can of worms. I mean, you could run into some shit naming people like that in a sworn affidavit. However, I don't know. Mr. Routier won't talk to me, won't talk to you. I have a million questions for him. Oh, and many of the questions only he can answer.
I'm pretty sure at this point in his life, he wishes he never met Darlie. No matter what.
Even if he cares about her a great deal, I could kind of understand that in a way, because I mean, this thing totally turned his life around and it'll never be the same.
And then you have the incident 2 years before the murders where there was a gun involved getting waved around in a marital argument, and he tries to pass it off as, oh, I was just messing with her. You know, boy, if I pull any type of weapon out on my wife.
That happened twice, Brian.
Yeah, I know the one of 2 years, and I know one he put it to her, pulled it on her, and another one he put it at his own head, according to the books. We don't have any.
Well, a little bit more to it than that from information I've gathered. Close to the time of the murder, so one time it happened at Tesnique. And even Basha Javel said that they were arguing and fighting a lot. And Darlie went in there because Darlie took care of a lot of the books. And there's some different things going on she wasn't liking and had questions. And Darren had made some kind of smart ass remark to her. And Darlie was like, if you don't get it in gear and start getting things right here, I want a separation. Because she said every time she'd mention that, he'd get irate. And so he made some kind of smart ass remark, and she picked up a Rolodex and blasted him in the head with it. And she said that she told me that Darren pulled his gun out and put it right in her face. And she told him, as well as I, you're not going to do anything with that. And
so
and then there was another time when they were at home, when Darlie had said that it wasn't the night of the murders. I don't think it was the night of the murders, but they had another argument. And Darlie had said something about a separation, and he had put the gun to Darlie, and then he put it to his own head.
But she tells the public they had a wonderful marriage.
And I don't disagree the fact that they didn't up until right about that time. I think even Darlie's journal suggests that their marriage was going good and they were happy until you start getting close to the time of the murder.
Right, that's a good point. Something happened from April 29th to May 3rd that turned everything around for her attitude. I don't know if she was just looking for attention or not from her husband.
But she also didn't finish that entry, Mr. St. John.
That's because Darren walked in. He walked in.
Well, okay. I'm just saying she just didn't finish it. So.
And she didn't write anything else.
Right. Ever. She could have went back and finished that or put in another entry and didn't do it.
That whole thing is just...
I kind of wish you would have, to be honest with you. Something that was more positive like prior to. I really wish you would have.
It kind of tells you. It kind of tells you that something dramatic happened in those couple of days from April 29th to May 3rd. And then it carried through, if she's to be guilty like we think, it carried through to June 6th. I always thought of this disorder called intermittent explosive disorder. That's where you hold it all in, hold it all in, hold it all in.
But I don't think she was holding it all in, Brian, because her and Darren were arguing. They were arguing at Tesneek. They were arguing at home. They were arguing over the phone. And they had an argument the night of the murders. So I don't think she was exactly holding it in. I mean, she was.
Do you think that when they wrote their first statements out to the police, they kind of didn't put anything in there about having an argument that night?
Right. I asked Darlie that question one time. I said, Darlie, why? I don't think that the difference between both of those statements are that significantly different. Yes, there are some differences. I don't disagree with that, but they're not that significant. Now, I asked Darlie, why did that happen? She said, well, there's different things that happen during different times. She said, I was doing the one, and I was just trying to write through it because I was running late for the showing of my boys, which she was really late to the showing of her boys as a result. She's not happy about it. And she wanted to get the hell out of there. So she just, and then on the other one, it was a little bit different. I don't think there was that kind of a hurry. And I think also, when you go through a traumatic situation like that, sometimes you can remember things later and not immediately after it happened, or vice versa. This stuff does happen. It's common.
Do you think that the police ever asked her how was her relationship with Darren?
Of course they asked her. There's no question in my mind they asked her about that.
I wonder why she didn't say, well, not a couple months ago he put a gun in my face.
I don't know that she didn't say that, to be honest with you, but I don't know.
Well, when they were trying to, they were really trying to get us to feel that their marriage was wonderful. Whenever you have guns being pulled out and waved around, your marriage isn't fucking wonderful, period.
I totally agree with you.
But
I think that, like I said, if I think Darren was looking at some problems if some stuff started coming out on him, and I think that they were afraid of that. I asked Darlie, I said, Darlie, did Mr. Routier in any way tutor you on what to put on those statements or anything to tell the police, anything to tell anybody? And she said, not at all. Not at all. I said, so he didn't tell you what to put on a statement, didn't tell you what to tell police, family, friends. She said, no, he never did anything like that, she said. Because I was always kind of curious about that. You know, especially after your first interview with Basha Javel, how, you know, Basha says that Darren come into the room when her and Darlie were talking personally, and his face was red and went up and whispered something into Darlie's ear. I asked Darlie about that, Brian.
Yeah.
She said she don't recall anything like that happening.
Well, there's a lot of things she didn't recall. That doesn't mean it didn't happen, right?
But the problem again we have is we can't prove that whether it didn't happen or it did. That's the problem.
Right. Well, we could look at the probability over the possibility, and you know, the probability of that happening to me is probably about 90%, because Basha has absolutely no reason to lie. Darren and Darlie, even with her being innocent, let's look at, you guys think that she's innocent. They've got reasons to lie and keep stuff from the media, even with her being innocent. Basha has no goal, not what good would she get out of her lying about that? And a lot of these questions that I ask her, she doesn't even know that I'm going to ask them. And
well, I you know, it's these things are difficult. And it's difficult to, I know what you're saying, Brian. I don't disagree with you, but
she said, I felt like that was my family. She said, I felt like I lost my family. Boys are gone.
Well, that's what Darlie said about Basha, too.
So where was this falling out?
Good question.
And you know, I don't want to badger with Kathy too much. I know she's a friend of yours. I wonder, because Kathy wants us to believe that it was her idea that Basha was made the maid of honor because Darlie said so. All right. I don't want to bash her too much, but I do want to make this perfectly clear. Darlie thought enough of Tammy and Basha to leave them 10 grand apiece. Kathy's name wasn't in that. So it seems to me.
Okay. I've never seen a document stating that. I'm not saying that you're lying, Mr. St. John. I want to make that clear, but I've never seen the document. I'm not saying Darlie didn't do that. I don't know. I'm not going to, you know, I mean, I could sit here and say, oh, Brian, that's a fucking lie. That never happened. I don't know that. So I'm not going to sit here and say that.
She left certain things to Dana and Danelle and stuff like that. There are people that
I didn't even know they had a will, as a matter of fact. I know they had insurance policies. I didn't know they had a will.
I found the handwritten part. Somebody sent me the handwritten part, but I've seen the written part. It was in the documents that Maine picked out, and she mentioned Dana and Danelle, Basha, Tammy, and there was one more. But what I didn't see was Kathy, and it makes me wonder. And if Kathy would have came up here, I would have asked the same question. What kept you from the hospital? What kept you from the funeral? What kept you from going to visit her?
Well, I think that's a little more complicated than it seems. I don't want to discuss Annie Oakley's personal life and family. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, not at all. And I didn't know her in 1996. So, you know, I don't really, I really can't comment on that much. But
Pam has
it's quite a financial strain to go down there.
Pam has,
and I know that because I've done it
Pam has
many times.
She has this question: why didn't Key insist on Barbara Davis filing an affidavit with the court? What she said was held and tampered evidence. Why didn't Barbara Davis?
Well, I have no idea. It's you know, it's so damn funny, Brian. I had just gotten Barbara Davis's phone number because I was going to call her. And the day before I was going to call her, I had gotten word that she passed away. And I was really mad about that because I had a lot of questions. I can't answer that question. I would have to ask that question to try to get an answer for it. And
you've never read Precious Angels at all?
No, I've never read it. I have seen different various things about it, read some, certain paragraphs from it, things like that. But no, I've never, but I know it's at the local library because I've seen it there. And I can go there and get it anytime I wanted and go through it and read it.
I wanted to do it chapter for chapter, and I wrote to the publisher, and I never heard back because I don't want to get that's something that gets your channel taken down if you put a copyright out on that. But
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that I wouldn't read it. I think Barbara Davis actually had a lot of guts to say that she had written a novel and she was wrong about it.
Well, because Barb Davis was saying that she had evidence of prosecutorial misconduct. Darlie Key and family and the attorneys that have been representing her over the years have never dived in. How come there was an affidavit that Darren asked Robbie Jean Key if he knew where how to break, but there wasn't an affidavit of Barb Davis said this. She said she got this from a source at the DA, a deep throat source at the DA.
Yep.
It seems to me if I was on the side of Darlie and her family, then I'd jump on that. I want to know about the source of the DA. I'd be knocking on her door every day.
I have an answer to that, actually. I was told that they were never really sure who the deep throat person was, and that because I had asked Darlie Key about that. I said, I know you got kind of close to Barb, and maybe she told you who's this deep throat character, and she said we weren't exactly sure who it was. Now I know you have said in the past, Mr. St. John, it might have been Chris Brown. I've heard you say that.
Well, she's getting stuff from Chris Brown, but the thing of it is, how would Barb Davis not know who told her that?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. Again, I wanted to talk to her, and I mean, the woman died from a kidney ailment, and I never got into the questioning that I wanted to get into with that.
A lot of the okay, a lot of the that threw me off because I read the chat. A lot of the speculation, a lot of the stuff is speculation, and
very much so. Yeah,
it's got to be logic on the other end. Like I said, if I knew that my son had somebody in the DA telling somebody a victim's advocate this stuff in a case, and she comes on national TV and says, well, this DA, this person from the DA sent me this stuff that they were withholding, I'd want to know more about that. I don't know why they're not on it. Barb Davis also promised to write a book on Darlie's innocence, and she never did. So
Brian, do me a favor. Got to do another restroom break. I don't know how the hell you've been able to sit there for 4 hours and not have to go to the bathroom, but God bless you.
I got a water jug under my desk.
Oh, is that what it is? I was gonna say, but I'll be right back.
Pam, if you have a couple questions for Rich, I'll give you the link because we get to talking and we ramble a little bit. So what I'll do is let me get this. I'm getting a little bit tired. I need a break too, so let me see. We're not going anywhere. I really do have to. Let me put this in and see if Miss Pamela Collins will bless us with her lovely presence. And she has a couple questions for Rich. He suggested, bring Pam on. I said, I don't know if she wants to. But she does have better questions than I do, and if she wants to take a link, she come on. I thought we did. I thought we did answer it, Pam. If you want to grab a link and ask him a couple questions, you can. It's not going to be a shit show. So.
Okay, Brandon, we got questions here.
Yeah, Pam is wondering why we're not answering her questions, and I thought we were. I put a link in her Facebook if she wants to come up and answer. I'm looking through them. I don't see anything that we missed. Miscon. This one right here. We talked a little bit about why.
I don't know why Barb Davis never filed an affidavit. I've never talked to the lady, and she's deceased. I couldn't. I mean, Darlie Key was kind of close to Barb there for a while. I mean, she might have information. I could ask, but to get it directly from the horse's mouth is impossible now because she's deceased.
I sent Pam a link, and she hasn't seen it yet. She's probably multitasking.
Well, I'll be honest with you, Brian. We're approaching 4 hours, and I'm tired. I actually have something I got to do this evening too. But I will be glad to do this again because I think we did very well with it, and I hope what we're doing here is showing an example that supporters and non-supporters can actually get along. And let me say this: I've had conversations with Darlie about non-supporters. And she told me she prays for you guys. She really prays. She didn't say she want to go have lunch, but she said that she prays for you guys. And she doesn't try to cut you up or anything. Of course, she also doesn't always know everything that's said either. But and the same could be said about the support side. But I do know that she does pray for you guys. And she prays for every letter I get from her. You got anything you need me to pray about? Just send it to me, and I'll get right on it. Stuff like that. And beautiful letter writing. And I always, Brian, I always get them damn letters right on time. You remember the other night when I was pissed and I was talking to you?
Yeah.
And sure as shit, if Bonnie didn't say you got a letter from Darlie, that happens every single time, Brian.
She's got a way of writing. I know from writing her myself that she's got a way of writing. I wanted to say on the non-support end before we shut down is that I am by far not the person that people assume I am. But if you come looking for trouble and you come picking at me, I'm not Rich Prater. I'm not going to not take that. And if you come at me, you better go hard or stay home. And that's the warning I've always told people. I believe in fucking around and finding out. If you want to test, one of the things that Jamie did to me, and she's here, she's more welcome to be here. But one of the things she did to me is, I seen her post, Brian lives on welfare, and they're on this and they're on that. And I messaged her, and I said, we don't live on this and that. If you have any questions, just answer me. And then I seen her post again, I called the police on him. Come on. Jamie's more welcome to be here. We don't need to have that so we can have more of this. And then maybe as a combined effort, we can all get to the bottom of what happened in this thing. That's
well. Again, I think some of that problem. Look, I know her pretty damn good. I mean, I've been to her home. I've met her family. Very nice people. Very nice, welcoming people. They really are. And I really enjoyed conversation with her husband. They're very, very nice, and they treated me very good, very respectfully. But Jamie's very sensitive about this case, just like you and I are, Brian. And I think she goes to the cemetery and sees the boy. She cries because she gets so damn upset about it. I've seen it. I apologize, Jamie, for putting your info out like that. I hope you're not offended, but there's a point to my madness here.
She already clarified who she was in the chat anyway. You didn't see it, so she's all right.
But I mean, she's not an evil person. She's not trying to hurt people. She don't want to hurt people.
Neither am I.
Well, I didn't say you did. I'm saying, but when you come off sometimes sounding like you are, Brian. I've been watching you for years, and we definitely talk different on our podcast. That's for sure.
Yeah.
but I've never had those issues talking with you personally.
Well,
Yeah, we've made each other mad before, but
it's about
not when we're
civility,
having one-on-ones.
civility and respect, you know. And I hope that if we're going to be on social media with this case, that we all just take a lesson in what happened here today, as far as social media and people. I don't want people to pick at Rich for knowing me. I mean, it's not his fault that I exist. But I'll say one thing about Rich. At least he's got balls to come to me and say, "Hey, Bryan, you might be wrong on this," or "Hey, Bryan, you might be wrong on that," and none of you else do. None of you do. So that's where I give him credit. He is staring the adversary right in the face. I'm like the fucking devil to you guys, and he doesn't waver.
Well, let's not forget, Bryan, we're best friends. Don't forget to say that now. I mean, we've known one another for years personally.
Yeah, well, you can't have my Bud Light, though. That was just a crack. But anyways, I'm tired too, and it was a good conversation. And maybe in the comment section, we can. Pam seems to think I missed something somewhere. But I think
well, Bryan, perhaps we can do it again, and maybe we can do it during a time when we can do it with Pam, because I like talking to Pam, because I've talked to her on the phone many times off and on over the years, different various things of the case. When I needed information on something, I go to her. Believe me, if it's out there, she's going to have it. And she takes her time out and goes through it and sends it to me. She's been very good about stuff like that. I know a lot of people are very skeptical of Pam and you, Bryan, for that matter. But
Pam used to be married to one of the Rhode Island Police Department officers. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
No, because she wasn't.
Okay. No, I never knew. I never even heard that. Who said that?
She's a paralegal too. Did you know that?
I have been told that.
No, she's just on this case. But on the if you do another podcast on your own or with someone else, Jack Francis is wanting us to get more into the screen fibers and the fingerprint brush. It was not used on the bread knife blade beforehand. Now I know what he's saying here is correct, but I don't have it all right in front of me. So I'll do another video where we can discuss that. That's what they weren't getting. And I don't know what Pam wanted me to ask, but the comment section will be open. But I want to leave this too. I do have to pee, and I feel a turkey burger coming on. So it's been good, Rich. I'll talk to you later, buddy.
Yeah, we'll do it again, Bryan, sometime. I really appreciate you having me on today, Bryan.
I hope they don't go too hard on you.
Well,
all right. Bye-bye.
I didn't lie about anything.
No. I'm going to shut it down now. Take it easy, buddy. I'm going to shut it down now.
Take care, Bryan. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah.